Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. I am your host, Sam Randazzo, and I am joined by my two nice and cozy co-hosts. To my right, it is the one, the only, it's Uncle Sam.
Good afternoon.
There it is.
And to my left, it's none other than our very own Mr. Solo, Mike Palazzolo.
Hello.
And behind the computer, fresh off the unemployment line, absolutely power stroking his own pine cone, it's Bruce, the tugboat Venditti.
Howdy.
All right, we're back. We're back. Dan's already in the chat. Each day I ask myself, when are they finally putting Unk in the old folks' home? I don't know, Dan, but that day can't come soon enough. It can't. We're back.
Can you put the chat up there, please, for me?
Doing it right now.
Asshole.
Asshole.
This is urgent.
Here we go. It was a good weekend of football. It was an exciting weekend of football. We were actually very good on our picks this week, but unfortunately they didn't make it out to Instagram. But we were actually very good this week.
Well, if they watch the show, they'll know our picks.
Other than that, Uncle Sam, how was your long holiday weekend?
I don't understand the question.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was fine. You already knew that.
It's Monday.
tell you?
It's Monday.
Oh, what are you talking about? How was fucking
Monday.
Sunday? Is that what you're asking me?
What do you ask? What do you?
I don't know. What do you
ask?
ask me? What did
I'm
I
asking you, how
asked
was your
me-
weekend?
It was fucking great, dude.
What did you do?
I
Pitts
watched football.
Peaks.
I watched football.
You did what football? Did you watch
I
football
watched
Saturday?
I watched football Saturday. I watched the Michigan game, by the way.
You did.
Congratulations to U of M.
We're going to touch on
Thank
that
you.
Michigan game here later in the episode.
Thank you.
Give big congrats. And I watched
Thank
a lot of football.
You did.
Watched a lot of football Sunday.
Did you eat any leftovers?
Yeah, I ate leftovers for fucking 3 days. Yeah.
Are you tired of the leftovers?
I love ham. I never get tired of ham. Everything else is gone, so no. No, I'm not tired of it. It's gone.
Outside of leftovers, did you eat anything else?
We had fucking one day. We had McDonald's, actually.
What'd you get?
What a
I-
fucking nice fucking weekend.
I had McDonald's.
What'd you get?
A quarter pounder with cheese and a a Mac.
How many? Oh, a quarter
Royale
pounder
with
with cheese and a Big Mac.
You
It
mean
was,
Royale with cheese?
$9.99
9 Big Macs, 9 quarter pounders, 9 large
and 9
fries.
large fries.
Love no nuggets.
No nuggets.
And that feeds the whole family.
You got to make it. Listen, when you go through the drive-through, you got to make it very,
Very simple. Yeah. of course.
simple and easy. And that's what we did. And went home and we fucking gored out. And I felt like I was going to die after eating that. I felt the diabetes just fucking setting in.
McDonald's makes me sick, but I hate that because it's so fucking good.
I
It
love
just-
Big Macs.
There are certain days when it just hits different.
I love nuggets.
I love-
chicken nuggets are outstanding.
I love Big Macs,
Those
dude.
are
I know
terrible.
it sounds fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's-
you know what's
it's
weird
fake
though?
meat.
When I was a kid,
It's not even real.
When I was a kid, you bought a fucking Big Mac. A Big Mac was a fucking Big Mac. Now they're like this fucking big.
Elizabeth, I bought a yesterday. I went to Nino Salvaggio's and I got a pound of normal sliced mortadella and a pound of boar's head yellow cheddar, and I've just been cranking that out this week.
That has to be the first and last time we shout that out on this show.
Why is that? You don't like cheddar?
No. But where'd you get the cheddar from?
I got it. Oh shit!
It's
You
okay.
don't have lunch meat. You don't. Do you have lunch meat?
We have prepackaged lunch meat now.
Where at? Which store? Can I get it at
Oh,
Gratiot?
you got fucking
Got salami.
Bruce, go back and blur that out. Can we blur that out?
Anyway,
Fuck,
Anyway.
I didn't even think about what I said. I'm
How
sorry.
was your weekend? Pits, peaks, high points, low points. Obviously, I know the high point.
Things started bad with that Lions loss Thursday.
Okay.
The only thing that could make you feel a little better, well, not a little better. I mean, when you beat Ohio State, and we'll get into all that, but when you beat Ohio State and you go to another championship, it's outstanding. And then it just reached ahead at about 11:30 on Saturday night. You might appreciate it. I don't think you guys are going to appreciate this. At about 11:30 on Saturday night, CM Punk returned to the WWE.
I saw that.
And it's something that I have been waiting for since he left. And he made a big return 2 years ago to AEW. It ended very poorly, but there were rumors.
Wrestling?
Yeah, we're talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
There were rumors that this would happen because it was in Chicago, which is his hometown. And then it all went out the window. It all got blown away. But then it just came together really quick. Triple H is in charge of creative now.
Oh,
Vince is overseeing. Endeavor
He's
merged
pretty fucked
UFC.
up looking these days.
Yeah, Vince looks like a porn star.
Vince McMahon.
The last time I seen him was at the fight. Him and the Undertaker guy was with him, and he looked really bad.
The Undertaker
Vince?
guy.
Had a cane. He's
That's a
not steady on his feet. He looks a little fucking.
Wait,
gone.
hold on. How long ago was this? It must have been a work because
No,
Vince is considered.
It was that fight, the Fury, Tyson Fury, and
yeah.
fight.
He had just had his hip replaced. That's why he.
No,
he
but
was
he
looking
looked
real fucked.
out of it.
Can you give Uncle Sam a recent picture of Vince now?
No, he looked out.
Fury
He
just
had a
said
little
reach out.
mustache going.
Yeah, he's got porn
trying to look
stash.
like Wayne Newton,
Yeah.
and he could barely walk.
Yeah. So he's had a bunch of surgeries. He's still considered the
Walking
healthiest.
Like Uncle Anthony over there.
Holy fuck.
He was bent over. He looks like fucking Wayne Newton.
Yeah, that's him now. That's
That's
him now. So a lot of what he's doing is behind the scenes. They don't want him. Endeavor, which is Ari Emanuel, is in charge of the new merged Endeavor and UFC operation. Obviously, Dana White oversees UFC. Vince still oversees WWE. They want Triple H to run creative, and it's just gone so well. And their product is as good as it's ever been right now, and it's just it's exciting. The WWE.
The way wrestling is?
Yes.
Oh, it's horrible.
It'll
It went down the tubes when what's his name left?
hold on.
The Rock.
We need President Baker for this because he
It
sends
was-
me clips
it was
all the time.
shit.
The Rock's coming back.
Yeah, I see that.
He's gonna
got nothing else to
wrestle.
do
It
'cause he
might
can't
not
make
be
any
this
movies.
year. No, they agreed to the agreement with the movies. He'll be back as an actor. It might not be this year,
Yeah.
but he's scheduled to wrestle his cousin Roman Reigns, who's the top guy in the company. It's going to happen in one of the next two WrestleManias. So he's coming.
I
Stay
still
tuned.
remember the days of Hogan coming out talking about he was eating his vitamins and he was all roided out and his eyes were bugging out of his head.
Yeah, you grew up. That's the golden
Him
era
and
there.
Randy Macho Man Savage. Oh yeah. That's when wrestling was at its high point. You know, he was making $10 million a year in 1984.
You're talking
And
Hulk
he
Hogan.
worked for McMahon's old man.
You're talking about Hulk
Dad.
Hogan.
Yeah.
I believe it.
He was pulling down $10
believe
million a year in 1984.
Wrestlers were literally
that's
larger
sick
than life
money,
back
dude.
then. That's
Yeah.
sellout 93,000 in the Silverdome type money.
Yeah.
Which they did.
Yeah.
Did anybody happen to tune into the Deal Cell State Championship game Saturday
I
night?
did.
I did as well.
Because I have someone in one of my
Valley
fantasy
Sports
leagues,
apps.
an older gentleman in one of my fantasy leagues who played at De La Salle in the 90s. He played at Michigan State as a quarterback. His nephew is Anthony Battani, who's the de facto running back right now. And he'll start in a year or two. He'll start next year, Anthony Battani. So I had invested interest. My cousin's a senior at De La Salle. It's a heartbreaker for them. They kind of choked it away.
They did choke that game away.
And then you know who else choked? Was last night Belleville, who's the
were
top dog in
supposed- yeah.
Division 1. They have the #1 overall pro style passer, Bryce Underwood, for 2025, who's like one of the most sought after football recruits ever. And they had won like 30 straight games. They lost last night, Belleville.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hadn't lost a game in like 2 years.
Yep.
Wow. Big things. High school football talk. Big things.
You know, what was even better was watching everybody lose their mind about the interception in the end zone in the Michigan game.
It was a touchdown.
That was a touchdown. He
It
broke
was,
the
it was a touchdown. He broke the plane.
Whether
That picture's his elbow.
it doesn't matter because at that point, once you break the plane, it doesn't matter if you're completing.
You're talking about the
Oh,
interception in the game. You're talking about the interception in the game.
Touchdown.
Regardless.
They called it a touchdown, but it was an. They
was a
said it was
touchdown.
an interception. Everybody was complaining that it was an interception.
No.
He broke the plane. Once you
talk
break the
about
plane,
Alabama.
whether you're
Absolutely.
continuing on with the ball or it comes loose doesn't matter.
Bruce brought up a great point. That at the end of the Iron Bowl, Alabama-Auburn was insane. I don't know how
Yeah,
I saw that.
Auburn rushed 3 on that play and on 4th and 33 and couldn't get it done. And low key, I think it'd be cool if Jalen Miller won the Heisman off that play. I think it'd be cool. He'd have to beat Georgia to get it done.
Deserved
I don't think he's going to beat Georgia, but that was very cool.
Auburn.
Oh, you never
deserved
know.
that win.
Alabama
Georgia
was
had
getting
a
away
tough
with
one this week, too.
ridiculous calls.
Georgia's got a tough
Opening
one.
game,
And a tough
opening
game.
drive of
We
the
could do that Wednesday. I want to talk about this weekend's college slate Wednesday.
100%.
But in the meantime, I would love to get into Michigan, Ohio State real quick. I want to talk about Michigan State's new head coach. I think they made a great hire. I don't know if I'm in the minority on that.
Well, I think I actually thought they were going to go with somebody with a little more experience, that a little more notoriety. Let's put it that way. Oregon State. Not a lot of people know anything about Oregon State.
So who's the guy with more notoriety?
I don't know of any that were available.
There weren't.
That's the problem.
I think so. So going back to the last coaching cycle 3 years ago, Mark D'Antonio left that program in a bad place in two ways. Number one, he left the cupboard completely bare for Mel Tucker. Number two, he left the program after the spring game, so the hiring cycle is over. So hindsight's 2020.
Correct.
Obviously, that isn't the case now, but at the time, Mel Tucker was a great hire for when they hired him. Whereas this time they got ahead of the coaching search. They were able to. They fired their coach in the middle of the year. But they got ahead of the coaching search. They kept it airtight, and they did all their due diligence. And I think they came down to arguably, unless there's some mystical, magical candidate, I think they came down to the two best candidates, which
And
were...
I was just glad they didn't hire Urban Meyer.
Of course.
I don't
I
give a fuck.
agree. For different reasons. I would have loved to smash Urban at Michigan State, but I think he would have fucked their program up. But I think Michigan State came down to the two right candidates in Jonathan Smith and Mike Elko. I think they would have been win-win with either of those guys, and they got one of them, and good on them. It sounds like he's making the right hires for coordinator positions. And
Another thing is, him being out west all these years, playing in the Pac-10, he might actually have an advantage over the rest of these coaches next year because he's actually played against most of these guys.
some of them, yeah.
So guess what? That's going to give him a huge advantage over teams like Ohio State and Michigan
Yeah.
and Penn State.
And Pac-12 ball is completely different.
No,
They
play
the whole
offense.
thing goes through the
They
quarterback.
play offense there.
Oregon's one of the only schools that doesn't go through the quarterback. They like to pound the ball. They like to go through their offensive linemen and pound the ball and get their tight ends open. But I think this was a great hire for Michigan
Chip Kelly
State.
at UCLA, he's gonna throw the ball all over the
He's
field.
getting fired in this weekend.
Maybe. I doubt it.
But I thought this good for Michigan State. The only thing I would like to stress to the Spartan fans that are watching, I don't see Angie, I do see Dan. If you're still watching this, be patient, because this guy's going to do it the right way, and I think it's going to take a few years. I don't think they're going to be good off the rip. I don't think outside of some of his guys that he's familiar with, he's going to work the portal that well. I think they're going to want to recruit high school kids. They're going to want to develop them like he did at Oregon State. And if you're patient enough, there'll be a payoff where Michigan State might come at Michigan here and there, and Michigan State will have a crack at the 12-team playoff. I do think that's coming, but you just got to be patient to get there. It's going to take time.
I agree. 100%. Should we do some news?
Yeah.
Let's get in the news. First off, a little bit of news out of Philadelphia. Well, actually out of Houston. Former Eagles defensive end Derek Barnett was claimed today off of waivers by the Houston Texans.
Interesting.
Interesting. I think that's a nice move for them, though, because as we were talking about this morning, actually, on the phone, that the Texans' biggest downfall right now is their defense. So I think that's a
Their
nice
linebacker core is their
linebacking
downfall.
course.
But it's good to put him in that rotation. So
100%. Biggest piece of the news of the day, though, the Panthers owner, David Tepper, announced this morning that he had fired head coach Frank Reich. And then in corresponding moves, they fired quarterback coach Josh McCown and running back coach Deuce Staley. So essentially, they have cleared out all of the offensive coaching staff in Carolina.
does that surprise you?
Yes, it actually does surprise me.
I was actually shocked. They didn't even give these guys a fucking
I'm surprised.
full year.
I'm
So-
surprised. There had been talk the last couple weeks. I just thought it was fucking stupid talk.
So there were people that had said after the game he walked into the locker, like around the locker room, and the owner of the team was yelling all kinds of expletive, fuck this and fuck that. So I had a feeling after I saw that yesterday, when your owner,
I didn't see that.
Oh yeah,
It
it's
wasn't.
all over
There's
Twitter.
not a video. He was
Yeah.
just seen. There was one tweet that took off that he was David Tepper was seen leaving the locker room after the game, and he screamed "fuck."
Yeah,
I like that.
you like what?
I like seeing an owner get involved
Yell fuck.
and
No.
absolutely
Nope. This guy fucking sucks.
fuck.
I agree.
I think this guy sucks. I think he's a traditional hedge fund idiot. I think he's trying to run an NFL team like a hedge fund. Say what you want about Matt Rule. I'm not going there. I do think Frank Reich is a very good coach that has been saddled with bad quarterbacks and talent-depleted
Twice
rosters.
he's lost his job
Well, okay.
the past fucking 2 years.
Here's
That's
the
fine.
thing. You drafted. Okay, because this was the other piece of news to come out, and I saw this, right? If we go back a couple weeks, it had come out that Frank Reich wanted to draft C.J. Stroud with the first overall
And
pick,
Josh McCown did too.
and
Josh McCown.
did, and ownership wanted Bryce Young. Okay, obviously we've seen how Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud have both performed to this point, and most
Them being
likely,
down south, Bryce Young is beloved down there. This is
don't care. I don't
I-
care.
listen. They went with the sexy pick.
That wasn't the sexy pick.
That was the sexy pick.
In retrospect,
The
it was
real
Bryce
pick would have
Young.
been Stroud.
Bryce, let me reel it in real quick. I'm comparing this to like what was it 4 years ago or 5 years ago, the Burrow Herbert and Tua draft. People came out. The Stroud's numbers through 11 games rival only one rookie quarterback in history, and that's Justin Herbert. And people, I love Stroud. I think he's going to be great. I love watching him play. I'm a Stroud boy. Stroud boy, stand up. That being said, I think that people are jumping the gun on Bryce Young being bad because it was the same as Tua. People
I don't
thought
think he's bad.
I don't think he's. That's what I'm trying to say. is
they have
people
no
thought-
talent there.
People thought Tua was bad, and we should have taken Herbert with that pick. No, Herbert ended up in a good situation, and he came out hot, and he had people. And it's the same with C.J. Stroud.
And he's
C.J. Stroud's-
underachieved ever since.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think C.J. Stroud's going to underachieve. I don't think.
No, I don't either.
But the comparison is Stroud and Herbert versus Tua and Bryce Young, or Joe Burrow and Bryce Young, however you want to call it. I think Bryce Young's going to be fine eventually. He needs some pieces. They need to develop an offensive line. They have no running backs. It's going to take time. But Bryce Young won and played high-level football at Alabama, and he won for a reason. So he's going to win in the pros, just like it took Tua time to do it, and Tua won in the pros eventually. It's going to happen.
I mean, you'd think that as the owner of the team, you'd be able to look at this and say, okay, they have the bottom. They have the worst graded
What do you think? Why do you think he did all that?
because he wants to win now.
Who's he? Tepper?
Yeah, because he's stupid.
Because he's
Why,
an idiot.
why blow it up?
It's the second year in a row.
Why blow it up 10 weeks in, though?
Well, that's what
Matt Rule deserved to get fired.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes or no?
Okay.
Matt Rule deserved to be fired.
Yeah.
You have the worst graded offensive line in football. You have Adam Thielen, who's realistically he had a great start to the year, but he's a washed up old 2 receiver anywhere else. He was in Minnesota before they signed him. You traded away Christian McCaffrey. You traded away DJ Moore. You stripped this thing down to draft Bryce Young.
It's at the
And then-
studs. It's at the
yeah,
studs. Right
you're
now.
at the studs. If you don't like the way Frank Reich's taking the team, wait till the offseason to do it. The midseason thing made no sense to me. And number 2,
There's
what
other
do you
guys that
expect?
deserve to lose their jobs before Frank.
100%.
We didn't even. We've had this conversation every other week at least for the last 3 months, and it goes back to the summer. We never had Frank Reich on our list. Frank
never.
Reich, he's revered. He's the reason Philly won that title in 2017. He's the reason. Frank Reich is the reason. His Colts team came out hot with nothing. He lost Andrew Luck. Okay, Frank Reich is the real deal. And we were getting into it in the pre-show. They're talking Ben Johnson to potentially. Ben Johnson's going to have his pick of the jobs when the hiring cycle comes up. I guarantee you that's his hometown. That's why that makes a lot of sense. I guarantee you that's not even on his radar. And he's got no interest when he sees the short leash and he sees 2 coaches that were fired in 2 years, 2 coaches in 2 years, one before the season ends. I guarantee you Ben Johnson wants no interest. And then in regards to Frank Reich, if the Lions do lose Ben Johnson, Frank Reich better be your first call because he played here. He understands it. He's a great play caller. I think he's a great quarterback coach, and he's just getting scapegoated. And same with McCown, and same with I don't understand.
Deuce Staley.
Deuce Staley, he left here and took that job down there to be closer to home because he's got an ailing mother, and they fired him. Are you stupid? You want to fire that guy? By all means.
Who you left with Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, by all means.
I mean, and the worst graded offensive line in football. No shit, your running game's not effective. You don't have one decent offensive lineman, and you got two
I actually
mediocre
thought
running
Hubbard
backs.
did pretty well this week.
That's what I'm saying. I thought if you look at the talent level that they have in Carolina versus the result on the field, I don't think it's been all that bad. I mean, yes, the record is atrocious, but what you're seeing on the field,
But you're seeing
actually
them
has
improve
promise.
more and more
Right.
every game.
That's why
No, it's not like they're getting fucking blown out by anybody.
No, I totally see the improvement with Bryce Young.
100%.
It's marginal. It's not big improvement, but it's there. It's there every game. They're not getting blown out. They kind of remind me of the Lions 2 or 3 years ago. There was marginal improvement every game, and they're working towards something. I thought that was dumb. I think it's dumb. I think David Tepper's an idiot. I think all of these hedge fund guys are atrocious at sports ownership.
No, because I think the ownership for like the Washington Commanders, that guy needs to come down. Fuck.
Did you just say
throwing Rod Rivera out.
He's going to.
Jerry Jones needs to punch Mike McCarthy in the dick and throw him out.
I think Ron Rivera is on his way out. I have zero concerns.
Yes,
about
I said
that.
Jerry Jones needs to punch Mike McCarthy in the dick. Because when Mike McCarthy gets
You're right.
when
The
he gets
Cowboys
bounced
won
out in the first round,
45-10 this week, but he should punch
when he
him
gets
in the dick.
when he gets blown out in the first round,
They're not
going to
get blown out in the first round this
He's going to
year.
get punched in the
Because
dick.
they're going to play Carolina, or they're going to play Atlanta in the first fucking round, and they're going to pop fucking Desmond Ritter's asshole.
You know what was worse? Hearing Jason Garrett do
Oh,
play-by-play.
I thought Jason Garrett was great.
I, honest to God, thought he had a nice time.
I thought
had
he
a
was
nice
great.
game
I wasn't
last
annoyed with him at all.
night. Because guess what? Chris Collinsworth.
You think he's better than Chris Collinsworth?
I mean, fuck. It's like
I
the
actually
blind
liked
leading
him
the
better
blind.
than Chris Collinsworth.
Stupid. Okay. Moving on. Because we're going to get to that game here in a few minutes. Chiefs wide receiver Justin Ross had criminal charges dropped against him today. He was facing 2 charges for felony criminal damage and a misdemeanor of domestic battery. The Johnson County District Attorney's Office confirmed they dropped the charges. He is no longer facing any sort of repercussions, and an application for diversion in his case was granted. So Justin Ross is no longer possibly going to jail, because that's what everybody was talking about a week ago. The Raiders released veteran cornerback Marcus Peters today. Didn't understand that, but
he got benched yesterday.
yeah, he got benched yesterday, and people close to Antonio Pierce said that Peters was giving minimal effort during practice, and that he had cost the team wins in the Bears and Dolphins games.
Wow.
So Marcus Peters officially out there. And in some news last night, I don't know if anybody caught this, but Jason Kelsey left the field to play with 2 minutes left to go in the game before they went to overtime because he had to take a shit.
Okay.
He went in the locker room and took a shit.
No coincidence
Before
they came back
overtime.
and won after that.
Yeah, he just needed to.
He had 2 untimely penalties in that game.
Yes, he did.
Never see out of him.
We will
So
get to that.
obviously he
We
had
will
to
get
shit
to
pretty
that.
Bad.
Yeah, he had
For
to
him
poop.
to run to the locker room right after that.
Yeah, he got 2 penalties called on him and then went to poop. So, the Browns obviously lost their quarterback yesterday, and we'll talk about this game in some detail because I thought this was one of the most interesting ones of the weekend. Kevin Stefanski came out today and said Amari Cooper's rib injury and Dorian Thompson's concussion are being monitored, but he considers them both day-to-day. Thompson Robinson did not clear protocol today, and they do not expect him to tomorrow. Amari Cooper, in the rib injury, they're saying right now that it's nothing serious, and he
Murray
should play
Cooper's a
this week.
warrior. He'll play this week, guaranteed.
Considering how we'll get
He's a
there.
warrior.
We'll talk about that game when we get there. I'll save it.
Other than that, does anybody else have any other news they would like to share?
No.
Oh, were you watching Red Zone last night?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Red Zone studio had to be evacuated last night. I was sitting eating a bowl of soup,
Yeah, what was it?
and I heard fire alarms going off. And I'm sitting there looking around the house. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And it was Red Zone. I guess the fire alarms were going off, and the studio had
Scott
to be
Hansen
evacuated.
leave the air.
Scott Hansen came on there and said, hey, listen, because this was with like 5 minutes left in the game. He goes, so there's only one game left on and we're supposed to cut away from it, but I have to evacuate the building right now. So whatever happens, happens. And then like 2 minutes later, he came back and said, yes, those are still the alarms going off, but I decided to come back in here and show you guys the top 5 plays of the day. And the alarms are
I
still going
remember
off
an
in the
old
background.
Chinese proverb.
Yeah. And then he said the rest of the crew wasn't allowed back in the building, but they let him go back in. So shout out to Chris.
Scott Hansen.
Scott Hansen.
He's a
You're a
Detroiter.
warrior.
He's a Detroiter.
You were in it right
He's
to
one
the
of
end.
ours.
The captain was going down with the ship.
Risking your life to bring us the top 5 touchdowns.
He's one of ours. I think he went to Bishop Foley. He's a proud Detroiter. And then quick anecdote on Red Zone, and I wonder if this has anything to do with it. Do you know where Red Zone is recorded?
I don't.
So the NFL...
Not L.A.?
It is L.A. The NFL and NFL Films and NFL Network moved their entire campus to SoFi Stadium. Everything's right there. So I wonder if it was a tailgate gone wrong or something like that. But they're on the campus of SoFi, essentially, as NFL Network, and that's where the Red Zone studio is.
Shout out to President Baker checking in.
Leon, if you're late right now, we talked about CM Punk at the beginning of the show, so you better go back and listen.
Oh, Carl's in here too, isn't he?
Yeah, Carl wants to know if he could call in when we talk about the Ravens. I said I'd ask you, and that you know,
I don't.
Might be tough.
I don't think that's the best idea.
Is he drunk?
No, this is the thing. If we were gonna have,
time is it?
If we were gonna have, I mean, it's pushing 5:30. If we were gonna have Carl on the show,
Disclaimer.
I think it would have to be pre-recorded.
That's fair.
So that way we could edit it through. I'm not opposed to it, but it definitely has to be.
We could do pre-recorded Ravens talk for the playoffs.
Yes.
When they go on their Super Bowl run.
Carl will
How's
get
that-
you in
How does that sound, Carl?
at some point. We're gonna pre-record though, because I don't know if the audience wants to be educated on the beauty of the poop swag or not. So, yeah.
I couldn't agree
Let's
more.
go through the games.
You ready? Just like that.
I'm ready, man.
You're
Let's
fucking ready?
rock, dude.
You
Bruce,
ready?
can you send me a screenshot of our picks?
I will airdrop that to you right now because I have it right here.
While we wait for that, we'll do that.
Yeah, let's get into the picks. Why is Tom Brady trending right now? Is he coming back? Is he coming back for one last ride?
Anyway,
Is it finally going to happen?
only thing he's riding is cack.
See, why you got to go there?
It's just went there.
Why the fuck?
That's what it is. Alex Smith told everybody how it was.
Alex Smith's a cuck. A bona fide cuck.
He called it out for what it was. Hey, he wasn't the only one. You see Rex Ryan's reaction?
Rex Ryan destroyed
Rex Ryan was
Belichick.
like, "What the fuck?
No,
is
but
this guy
you know what?
talking about?"
I think Rex Ryan is a fat, obnoxious slob, and I can't stand him. But his points about Belichick, you can't argue with them. That's the problem.
Until I die, I will argue that Brady and Belichick had a symbiotic relationship, and I appreciate what Brady did in Tampa, but in that era of Patriots football, they needed each other to win. Brady was the perfect quarterback to do that. Belichick
and playing
was
in
the
a
perfect
weak
coach.
division really helps.
Oh,
too.
get the
It
fuck
did.
out of here
It
with
did.
that.
No,
It is what it is.
I'm
dude.
with that take.
Six
Some years
Super
it wasn't
Bowls?
weak. Some years it wasn't weak. And some years they had to go through the Colts, which mattered, which 100% mattered, the Peyton Manning Colts, because those were really fucking good teams. But yeah, I mean, it helps when you. It's the same with Aaron Rodgers here. It helps if you're able to prey on a really good division. It's,
Yeah, and
Yes.
he only got one.
Yeah,
that's
One.
Favre.
fair.
One.
Fair.
Aaron Rodgers played in this
Favre.
division, only got one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no.
Favre, when he went to the Vikings, won a division there. I mean, you gotta save for what it is, dude. You know,
Go ahead.
you can
Anyway.
prey on them weaker teams. That's what New England did all those years. Nobody remembers this, but back in the 80s, New England also had a good team back then that went to a Super Bowl. And
You're right, we don't remember it because it was 10 years before we were born.
Yeah,
There's
you
no
were,
team
you were born
that's
yet,
lost
but
more Super Bowls than the
I remember Andre
Anybody watch
Tippett
the Barry documentary?
and
watched
Tony
it.
Eason.
Fell asleep last
I
night.
fell
the
asleep through it a
quarterback.
couple times. It was very boring.
I thought it was sick.
All right.
What had you never seen before?
We need to start out with Friday because we talked before the Friday game last time. In this game, everybody unanimously picked Miami. So let's get into it. The Black Friday game, Miami headed to MetLife Stadium, which was voted by the players in an anonymous poll by a extremely wide margin, the worst stadium to play in this week. And
I think everybody gets hurt there.
everybody's
That's the thing.
critiquing the
turf.
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 And we had another catastrophic injury in this game.
If you have an outdoor stadium,
There's no reason to
no
have turf.
reason to have AstroTurf or field turf or whatever kind of turf. You need grass at this point.
Jalen Phillips, the standout defensive player for Miami, tore his Achilles. Done for the year.
I seen him when he did it. All it reminded me of was the Rodgers thing.
Yeah, you watched the whole fucking thing go up his calf. It was gross. Anyways, Miami comes out on top in this game, the first Tim Boyle start, the beginning of a new era for the Jets, 34-13, and we may just have somebody worse than Zach Wilson
Hold
at
on.
the helm
Hold on.
for the New York Jets.
I made the mistake of watching this whole game from
Same.
start to finish.
As did I.
I have something to say. I disagree with that.
Ooh.
I have two things to say. Number one, I think if Aaron Rodgers comes back, which it sounds like he's going to, sounds like he'll be back by Christmas time. Congratulations to you. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to get his shit pushed in this offense.
I do too.
I think he's going to get fucking destroyed.
The offensive line is
It's
awful.
the worst. It's the worst.
awful.
Because Boyle made some. Of course, none of them were downfield, but they gave him the keys to
I'll
the
tell you
offense
what,
because he
though,
could run the offense.
I was shocked that he has the pocket presence that he has.
He had some. That's what I was going to
Yeah.
say. Is he had some very serviceable throws. Now it made me think. I don't think Zach Wilson was that bad because Zach Wilson was just under duress the entire time. So if you're going to go with Boyle, why don't you just go back to Zach Wilson at that point? I didn't think Tim Boyle was that bad. Of course, the Hail Mary wasn't great. But it's not his fault. It's a Hail Mary.
No, that's not his fault.
But I thought he had a very serviceable game considering how lackluster his playmakers have been. Alan Lazard was a healthy scratch. Randall Cobb has 4 catches on the year. All that considered, it's not the same Garrett Wilson as last year. And it starts with their offensive line, and that's why you're seeing lackluster production from Breece Hall. That's why you're not seeing anything at all from Dalvin Cook. It starts there, and I think if they had a decent offensive line, this would be different. So I don't think Aaron
They've
Rodgers.
got a shit ton of injuries up front.
Regardless, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to come in and unlock this whole thing because their offensive line is that bad. And I disagree with you. I thought Tim Boyle was extremely serviceable, not great, but serviceable, all things considered, because their offense is just bad. And Sean Payton was fucking right. Nathaniel Hackett sucks.
You want to know something?
He sucks.
I was thinking that the entire fucking time because now you're at the point where that you can't have all these quarterbacks this bad. Because I'm sorry, Zach Wilson hasn't looked good for months. Tim Boyle, I mean, if you want to call him serviceable.
You can't have serviceable in a team that was expected to maybe make a Super Bowl run. Yes.
Correct. Like, it was just. And I was blown away by Breece Hall's lack of production.
There was guys in the beginning of the year that talked about the Jets and about they did nothing to improve their offensive line this year. Mm-hmm. Outside of Becton, and Becton is hurt.
So they're like the opposite of the Lions. The Lions sank some resources into their offense in the draft and all that, and they didn't do nearly enough with their defense. And the Jets did the opposite. The Jets sank all these resources into their defense and the draft and all that. And the only thing they did for their offense is bring in Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, and then of course Aaron Rodgers and Dalvin Cook. And that's not enough.
Well,
I mean, you
they
could
thought
put
that was
lipstick
gonna
on a
be
pig.
enough
Well,
at that time.
They should have drafted a tackle. They knew they needed to draft a tackle, and they didn't draft a tackle.
I mean, here it is right here.
Any guard, center, and tackle.
If you take just Dalvin Cook by himself, right? Last year for Minnesota, he averaged 4.6 yards per carry. He had almost 1,200 yards on 265 attempts. Okay? This year in 50 attempts, he has 162 yards. It's 3.1 yards per carry. Do we really think Dalvin Cook fell off that much?
No.
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 This offensive line's an issue. The pass catchers are an issue. They've been targeting.
How the fuck is Breece Hall doing it?
Breece Hall's not doing
It's
it.
got the production's gone down as
But
they've
that
given
should
him
tell
more
you
snaps.
something right there. How good Breece Hall is.
I agreed. As they've given him more snaps, they're game planning for him now. So
Yeah.
if you take him out of the offense, you're down to Garrett Wilson,
Yeah.
who hasn't done anything.
Who I
Doesn't
thought.
do anything.
I don't agree with that. I think he's doing everything he could do.
Well, yes, but it's like
Not his fault that the ball's not getting to him.
okay,
It's not his
Garrett
fault.
Wilson was targeted 10 times on 44 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be that guy, you got to break one of them, man. You've got to.
Can't break one of them. You got fucking 2 people draped all over you on every fucking
That's
play.
also true. I mean, because they have nobody else. Who are they going to do? You're going to have. You think the coverage is going to shift towards Xavier Gibson?
This is why Tyler Conklin is having fucking 10 catches a game because you're just dumping it off to him.
Wow. Because you're
Because everybody else is downfield covering Garrett Wilson.
Miami continued to roll in this game. Tua with a 2 interception game though, and they were ugly. But Raheem Mostert.
Well, it just shows you how good that Jets defense is.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
I don't think the Jets defense is all that great anymore.
I do. I think they're very good.
No, I
I
don't.
think they're very good as a unit itself to have to go out there constantly knowing your offense is impotent
Okay, but
and try to muster up that effort on every series.
before the season started, we thought this Jets defense was comparable to Philadelphia's, and it's not.
So in recent weeks,
Philly.
there's a drop off. There's a drop off every week.
Blind squirrel.
They look more fractured, and the body language looks worse every week. You know who looks really fractured? Who I would love to take a run at, make a phone call on. You guys guess? You get one guess each on their defense. Who I would love to see if you can bring over here. That should narrow it down. No, I would love him, and I think he looks fractured, but that's not the guy now.
CJ Mosley.
Sauce Gardner. Look, his body
Carter
language.
ain't going nowhere, dude.
His body language looks worse and worse every week. He's playing worse and worse every week. No matter who he was guarding the other day, he got
I was
burned.
going to say C.J. Mosley.
No matter who he was on, he got burned. If it was Waddle, he got burned. Obviously, if it was Tyreek Hill, he got burned. No
Well,
matter
yeah.
who.
Well, he also made plays against some guys too, though.
He made one
that's
nice
not
play.
Totally accurate.
Listen to me.
I mean,
It's
Tyreek Hill was
totally-
got
9.
burned on good corners get burned.
He was 9 for
They
102
threw
and
at
a
him.
touchdown.
Threw at
Jalen
him.
Waddle 8 for 114. Raheem Mostert had 94 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And the Dolphins continue to roll. Continue to roll. Should we move on to the Sunday slate?
Yes.
Okay. In a
Divisional game.
I'll wait.
What are we doing?
At Dan. In a
Divisional game.
that had huge implications for the placement in the NFC South. The Atlanta Falcons best the New Orleans Saints. Both teams are now sitting at 5 and 6. Atlanta has the tiebreaker. They are the 1 seed in the NFC South. Atlanta wins this one 24-15, and I will be honest with you. This was the first time I actually liked Arthur Smith's play calling all year. All year. They looked pretty fucking good. Bijan Robinson, 16 for 91 and a touchdown. Tyler Algier, 10 for 64 and a touchdown. Against the defense that we didn't think was all that bad. Cordero Patterson got involved. 8 carries for 43 yards. That is an average of 6 yards per carry for all 3 running backs. Desmond Ridder, 13 for 21, 168 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. And God, were they bad picks, but you know what?
But you know what? What's the key number in that thing?
21 attempts,
Exactly.
and you're good.
Any more than that, and you're fucked.
You're good. Drake London, 5 for 91. Bijan Robinson, 3 for 32 through the air and a touchdown. That's what this offense should look like. You should have
That should be going all year.
33 carries between Bijan, Algier, and Cordero Patterson.
Every game.
Every game.
Every game.
Listen, I still think their offense is garbage.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I still think Desmond Ritter's atrocious, and I think they're in first place right now, but they're going to need something like yesterday to happen. The Saints just choked, in my opinion, and I think I actually
Derek
do
Carr
think.
had some really untimely turnovers.
Boy,
dude.
did he ever.
I was just like, wow.
Did he ever? I think that the Falcons are going to have a good crack at this. They're in first place out right now, but if they get it, it's because they're going to back into this division. They're going to back right into it. I would be shocked if
Jesse
they win.
Bates really baited him on that throw.
Yeah, that was a
I
great
was
play by
like,
Jesse
God
Bates.
damn, that was veteran move all
Yeah.
the way.
That was a
I
beautiful
was like,
play by
when
Jesse.
he caught that, I knew he was gone.
Yeah.
I was like, this motherfucker's gone.
Yeah, and Derek Carr went back to the sideline. He's like, all right. It's like, brother, it's not all right. You're not going to get it back.
Yeah.
As this game was going on, I was looking at the schedule coming up. I mean, if Atlanta loses this division, because you got to remember, Tampa Bay's got the first place schedule, right? Tampa Bay won the division last year. They have the first place schedule. And I think from what we've seen from Tampa Bay, they're no longer an entity in this, even though they're only 1 game back. Atlanta plays the Jets, Tampa, Carolina, Indy, Chicago, and New Orleans. I mean, if you can't muster 3 or 4 wins out of that, That's fucking awful.
The Saints are also really banged up too.
And the Saints, yes. I mean, Michael Thomas on IR, Lattimore's on IR.
Olave's injured.
Olave's banged up now. Like, and Derek Carr played in this game, questionable. For New Orleans going forward, obviously they have Detroit, Carolina, the Giants, the Rams, Tampa, and Atlanta.
Hold on. I think that schedule's a lot easier than the schedule that the Falcons have. That's just that's my take there. That's my take. They're getting a reeling Lions team this weekend. Okay. I think do the Rams have to go to the Superdome?
Yes.
Stafford historically sucks in New Orleans, including a playoff loss. The Panthers. How many of the Falcons have against the Panthers? They should be the last week, right?
They all play each other one more time.
Yeah, I mean, what a just
they have
a
3
dumpster
divisional
fire.
games.
I'm done talking about this division. We're all set. We've talked too much about the
Fuck
NFC
this
South.
division. Okay, moving on.
Atlanta would be my pick right now. Today as it stands. Atlanta
Ooh.
just because the Saints are that inept.
They're that bad right now. They're that bad. And they're that banged up. Like, in all reality, the injuries are a huge issue for them right now. We need to talk about yet another
divisional game
from Uncle Sam's favorite division, the AFC North, where real men play real football. The Pittsburgh Steelers headed to the jungle in Cincinnati to play the Bengals. Cincinnati dropped this one and fall to last place in the AFC North at 5-6. Pittsburgh now right on Baltimore's tail at 7-4 and in second place.
I thought Jake Browning would have a better performance.
It was Steeler D. Keep that in mind. I thought I thought he was, for first career start, I thought he was okay. And that's against a good defense.
For the record, as it comes to the picks, I was the only one who took Atlanta this week. And then you were the only one who took Cincinnati in this game. So
I was
0 for 2 on the Sunday slate for Uncle Sam. Pittsburgh comes out on top.
It was close enough that you could pat yourself on the back.
16-10. Pittsburgh's defense just continues to roll. And honestly, this was the first time since 2020 that the Pittsburgh offense had over 400 total yards.
And the first time this year that they outgained their opponents.
Yes. Kenny Pickett, 24 for 33, 278 yards. Najee Harris, 15 for 99 and a touchdown. Jalen Warren got banged up in this game, but he was 13 for 49. Pat Freiermuth, I think this was his first game back off of IR.
Yeah.
9 for 120. George Pickens, 3 for 58. If Pittsburgh does that, they'll win a lot of games because realistically, the defense is that good.
You're going to need 16 more. You're going to need more than 16 points out of your offense.
Yeah, but they haven't so far. That's the fucking thing.
when they play Baltimore
When they play Baltimore.
You're going to need more than 16
need more
points
than
out of your
16.
offense.
I agree.
Jake Browning's first official start, 19 for 26, 227 yards, a pick, and a touchdown. Joe Mixon, big factor in this game, 8 for 16. Can you explain to me? I get it. You're going up against a great defensive front.
with a fucking
You have
with a quarterback who's
a high school senior out there playing quarterback, and you only give Mixon the ball 8 times. The whole takeaway we had from Friday was this should be the Joe Mixon show. Joe Mixon should get 30 carries in this game. What the fuck? I get it. He wasn't effective the 8 tries you gave to him, but whew. Jamar Chase, 4 for 81. Drew Sample with the lone touchdown.
And 2 of those were fucking tip passes. Deflected passes.
If you're Baltimore, does Pittsburgh worry you at all?
No.
You're not?
Yeah. I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say yes.
Kenny Pickett.
The defense just keeps playing and playing. They just keep coming, dude. They're relentless.
Next up, let's move on to the game that cost Frank Reich his job. The Carolina Panthers headed to Nashville to play the Tennessee Titans. I'd like to preface by saying both these teams are dog shit. I mean, I think Tennessee is dog. They won this game, but they're dog shit. 3 of us picked Tennessee in this one. Bruce picked Carolina.
Absolutely.
Tennessee is now 4-7 and 4th in the AFC South. Carolina 1-10, the worst record in football. do we have anything here? I mean, Derrick Henry, 18 for 76. He broke 4 yards per carry for once and got 2 touchdown rushes in this game.
A lot of Tennessee's faults from the lackluster year on Derrick Henry to the fact that they can't muster up enough of a passing attack, even though we know they have it in them. Will Levis has that one good game. A lot of it's just their offensive line it's dead. It's literally dead, and I don't see a lot of viability going forward. But I like I feel a lot better about the future of the Titans today than I did, say, 3 months ago. I think they're in great standing to build something going forward.
You got to give Derrick Henry a lot of fucking credit. I mean, he did that with an atrocious line. They had a couple goal line stance to where my man got the ball and they had people fucking hanging on him as soon as he had the ball.
Yeah, Will Levis,
It's like, wow.
18 for 28, 185 yards. DeAndre Hopkins led the team in receiving, 3 for 49. As far as Carolina goes, Bryce Young, 18 for 31, 194 yards. Chuba Hubbard, 14 for 45. Miles Sanders, 15 for 28. Chuba Hubbard got the rushing touchdown. Has Miles Sanders been one of the biggest disappointments out of any player this year?
I'm going to be honest with you. I got a feeling this could be partly the reason of Frank Reich's demise was not utilizing him enough.
I mean, you gave him 15 carries.
This game.
Yeah, that's true.
Go back fucking 8 weeks. Guy was getting fucking maybe 1-2 carries a game. It's ridiculous, dude.
I mean, you got to figure in 2022, Miles Sanders
listen,
hit 1,300 yards.
You're supposed to do the best you can with what you got. Okay? Obviously, he had a quarterback there that he didn't want. He publicly stated that. That's probably another reason why he got fucking jolted, because ownership wasn't going to deal with that bullshit.
Yeah. Jonathan Mingo in this game had one of his better games so far this year. The wide receiver put up 4 receptions, 60 yards. Chuba Hubbard also had 5 for 47 through the air. I think we've spent enough time on this game. I hated it.
We're done with the NFC South for the day.
I
It was
think. I
pretty
hope
fucking
so.
awful.
You said we were
Oh no, we got one more.
You said we were all pretty good with our picks, but he did terrible.
What?
Yeah, you were fucking awful. You were awful on your picks.
Oh, this week?
Yeah.
Oh, you talking shit right now, Bruce?
Yes, he is.
Yes, I am.
Yeah?
Because I just finished doing the tally.
Whatever.
What's the tally? I'd just like to know.
8. We all got 8. He got 5.
We all got 8.
Well, not counting the games that happened Friday and Thursday, and
We were all the same on those games.
there's,
The Friday
there's a game.
games, we were
There's a
all-
game tonight, so you can't count that because it hasn't happened.
I think we were all the same on the Thursday and Friday games, though. My math was
In my defense,
I highlighted
Atlanta could have
all-
lost that game real easy.
Anyways.
I highlighted all of them.
Oh. I thought I had one up because I took he's the only one who took Cleveland. Oh, and you took Cleveland. Anyways, Tampa Bay headed to Indianapolis to play the Colts. I was the only one who took Indianapolis here.
You were, but you all took New England.
Yeah, that was a fucking mistake. Indianapolis moves to 6-5 on the year after beating the Buccaneers. They are now 6-5 and tied for second in the AFC South. Tampa Bay falls to 4-7, drops to third in the NFC South. Indianapolis wins this one 27-20. Jonathan Taylor, the story from this game: 15 rushes, 91 yards. That's 6 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Zach Moss was 8 for 55. That's 7 yards per carry. And Gardner Minshew ran one in, but through the air, he was 24 for 41, 251 yards and a pick. Michael Pittman, 10 receptions for 107 yards against his dad's old team. As for the Buccaneers, Baker, 20 for 30, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Rashad White, 15 rushes for 100 yards. That's 7 yards per carry. Mike Evans, 6 for 70 and 2 tuds through the air. Had a very nice game between Mike Evans and Jonathan Taylor here. Anybody have any takeaways from this one?
The fucking turnovers killed him.
Yeah, turnovers killed them. They did what they could. I thought Tampa did what they could. I thought it was a good effort.
Oh, yeah, Baker also had a fumble in this game.
Credit to the Colts are humming, and if my math is correct, they are in it right now. They're the 7th seed. And I told you can't count out the Colts.
Yep.
I think we're close to being able to count out the Chargers. We're close to being able to count out the Raiders. And there's one more team I thought you couldn't count out in the AFC, but you can't. The Colts are right there.
Actually, the Colts jumped the Texans in the standings as of right now because I think they have the matchup.
Yep.
Uh,
Big game there. The Texans and Jaguars was a huge game with so many implications.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, Indianapolis still very much in it. Are we ready to write Tampa Bay now? Can we please? Please?
That division's
There's 6 games left.
This division's too shitty to write them off.
Okay. We went through the other. Hold on. We went through the other 2. They play Carolina, Atlanta, Green Bay, Jacksonville, New Orleans, Carolina. Oh, they still play Carolina twice. Oh, God. You're right. They're not. You can't write them off.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't write any of those teams off until they've lost all the
What
games.
about Carolina?
You can write out Carolina. You write off Carolina.
We can officially write off
And Carolina was my preseason pick to win that division, so maybe.
Well, who's coach now that everybody got fired?
I don't know.
Jim Caldwell has a say on offense.
Excuse me?
Jim Caldwell has a bit of a say on offense.
How?
Last Dick Swan.
Wow.
Last guy
All
alive.
right.
Chris Tabor is now the interim head coach.
Okay.
Does
Didn't he play for
anybody
the
know
Lions?
who Chris
Tez
Tabor is?
Didn't he play for the Lions?
That's Tease Tabor.
Should we find out who Chris Tabor is?
I don't
No.
know anything about him.
All right, let's find out real quick. He's from St. Joseph, Missouri. He went to Benedictine.
Eminem's from St. Joseph's, Missouri.
He went undrafted in the 1993 draft.
But he moved here.
He was the Panthers special team coordinator.
Anyway,
So he is now the new head coach of the Carolina
good luck.
Panthers, Chris Tabor. Moving on to the game that redefined offense as we know it, the New England Patriots
Bye-bye, Bill Belichick.
headed to MetLife Stadium to play Tommy DeVito, baby, and the New York Giants. And Tommy DeVito pulls out his big brajol and slaps Bill Belichick right in the face with it as the New York Giants,
Whatever. They missed a field goal.
the
at
New York
end.
Giants destroy the New England Patriots in a 10-7 ball game.
Did you see all that
Freud.
shit that people are complaining that they played the Sopranos theme song?
I don't give a fuck.
I'm so happy they did.
Yeah. Fucking.
Bruce, the only
This is
one.
a Giants house.
Bruce, the only one with the brain here. He's the only one who took the Giants in this week's picks. We all took New England.
Goomba.
Do we buy in yet? Are we buying in yet on Tommy DeVito?
No.
He had another week with 104 QBR. He was 17 for 25, 191 yards and a touchdown. He also was 5 for 6 on the ground. Mac Jones got yanked halfway through this one. He was 12 for 21 with 2 picks beforehand. And he also had the lowest QBR on the week, 27. Bailey Zappi came in relief at 9 for 14 for 54 yards and a pick of his own. Ramondre Stevenson, one of the only high points for the Patriots, 21 for 98 and the lone touchdown on the ground. Demario Douglas, 6 for 49. I think he has emerged as the number one guy there. As far as the Giants go, Saquon Barkley, 12 for 46. Jalen Hyatt, 5 for 109. Finally
Finally has somebody throwing to him.
get him to wake up. And Isaiah Hodgins on his lone reception had the touchdown for the Giants. When is it gonna? What do you do if you're Robert Kraft? What do you do now? Like,
I think we're done with Mac Jones.
you think that was it?
I think
I think that was
it.
the last of it.
I don't see any reason why they shouldn't pull the rug out on him.
That's got to be it, right?
Yeah. You see, whoever it is, Will Greer, right?
Will Greer got cut.
Okay, so
They cut him before
so
this game.
It's Zappy. See if you have a pulse in Zappy, similar to what he did last year when Mac Jones was out. See if you got it. It's a new regime. Everyone's going to be gone. Belichick's going to be gone. So see what's going on. See what else you have. It's Mac Jones ain't it. It's over. It was never on, to be honest with you. It was just all a
Their
facade.
defense is decimated too. They got so many injuries right now.
Whose defense?
The Patriots.
New England's.
I mean, listen to me. They are awful.
Yeah.
They are fucking awful.
When you let Tommy DeVito rip 10 on you and you lose 10-7, you ever think a Patriots team could lose 10-7?
No. I mean, it's just so.
Tommy DeVito sucks. I'm so here for the story to continue, though. He's one of ours, so we can never discredit him. We got a Paisan, but under center in New York. from Jersey and playing in Jersey. He's got that TD necklace. I love when they showed his family yesterday and they were all fucking ripping photos. And they just looked like our family. Like they just looked like they belonged on this podcast. So I'm excited to see that going forward. I think he's going to get his ass handed to him. But I'm a big Tommy DeVito guy. When you got a quarterback going like this after he scores and he's having a big plate of gabagool, there's what's not to like? What's not to like? It's Christmas. It's the holidays.
Amen. Next up, we have a
Divisional game.
the game that had the most implications of the week. Well, one of the top two most implications of the week. The Jacksonville Jaguars headed to Houston to play the Texans.
Did not disappoint.
Did not disappoint. Great football game.
Something disappointed. The fucking officials were so bad in
They
that
were awful.
Houston had this one in their grasps, and unfortunately, the missed kick for Matt Amendola that went off the crossbar not only cost the Texans this game, but it also cost him his job. He was waived about 10 minutes ago.
Oh, wow.
So,
Someone who knows how to fucking do it.
On a 58-yard field goal, he got his...
with all that
the
being
backup
said,
kicker.
he was the backup.
He's the backup kicker.
Oh.
Tommy Fairbairn had been out for the past
That's
month.
right. That's right.
So he must be ready to go now. I'm sure after yesterday he is. But
Maybe the Lions should look at him.
who, Matt Amendola?
Yeah, all he
You
did
have
was
a guy who can't kick field goals.
Hold on. He bounced a 58-yarder off the crossbar. I'll bet you fucking what's-his-name couldn't even come close to that 58 yards.
They even given him a shot.
He's not. He's.
Stop.
I think the whole
Fucking extra
You
point.
have
whole
one
knock-
job. You have one job.
the whole knock on
Pick
Riley
the fucking
Patterson
ball.
is that he has no leg, and
Why is he playing in the NFL?
he hit some big clutch kicks last year in the playoffs, and they
Go
just weren't
find
from
a soccer
distance.
player on the street that could kick a ball.
Listen, if the Lions had their way, it doesn't come down to kicking 58-yarders. And C.J. Stroud said it in the press conference yesterday. You know, you can blame Matt all you want, but we wanted to go down and either score a touchdown or get him a couple more yards to make the kick manageable, and we didn't do that.
They didn't
You can't really blame the kicker on that one.
No.
That being said, they were robbed all game. The Texans were robbed all game. That would have been that completion to Tank Dell would have been the longest air yards. Would have been the longest air
Replay,
yards
I was like,
in NFL history.
where's the penalty?
That was 60 yards in the air.
I was like, where's the penalty?
Didn't see one.
They showed it, and I was like, what the
Didn't
fuck?
see one. There was questionable PI. There was questionable, and then the Jags got robbed out of some calls too. Yeah. The Jags got jobbed as well. Just really, really poor officiating in that game. In what was arguably the most impactful game of the weekend. And you never want the officials to be the story.
Not in a game that's that big of a deal.
No.
C.J. Stroud continued a hot streak, though. 26 for 36, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Stroud boy, stand up.
QBR of 116. Very nice game for him. He also had 47 yards and a touchdown on the ground.
The ball got around, too. It was everyone. Mainly Tank Dell, but Nico Collins was involved
Nico
yesterday.
Collins, 7 for 104 and a touchdown. Tank Dell, 5 for 50 and a touchdown. Devin Singletary hauled down 6 through the air for 54 yards. Bobby Trees had a catch, and so did a bunch of other guys
They had,
I've never heard
what's
of.
his name was, Noah Brown was inactive,
Noah Brown
didn't
was
play.
inactive. Second straight week.
and he's been looking for him big time.
Yeah, but the thing is, now that you're looking at this, they've got enough guys to catch passes there.
Yeah.
Bobby Trees, 2 for 40. Whoever Xavier Hutchinson is had a big catch. John Mechie had a catch in this game. They got enough guys there. Dalton Schultz, a non-factor, and that's with one of their biggest targets out. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, 23 for 38, 364 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Travis Etienne, rough day against this Texans front. 20 for 56. That's 2.8 yards per carry.
Left the game for a second.
Yes, he did. And in that time, D'Ernest Johnson came in and got carries over Tank Bigsby, which I was shocked by.
Imagine your mom's pushes you out, and the doctor goes, Mrs. Johnson, what are we gonna name this baby? And she goes, D'Ernest. D'Ernest.
Trevor Lawrence ran one in on the ground. Calvin Ridley finally came alive now that Uncle Sam traded him off his fantasy team.
No coincidence that their offense is humming right now while they're throwing the ball to Calvin Ridley. No coincidence.
5 for 89 and a touchdown for him. Christian Kirk, 4 for 89 in a nice little game for the Jaguars receivers. Does this? How bad was this for Houston?
Bad. I think they could still get into the playoffs, though.
I think they'll get into the playoffs. But I think the chances of
It'll
them,
be tough because there's 3 teams in that North that are going to go in.
the chances of
Okay,
them.
it's-
I don't think Cleveland's getting in anymore. I don't see it. We'll get there. I'm a little bit lower on Cleveland though. I'll tell you why later.
I'm just upset that I really wanted to see, and you guys know how much I like Jacksonville. I wanted to see Houston win that game. I love the Houston story.
Dude,
I
Stroud.
love the team.
Stroud's incredible.
I want them to win this division, and I think the chances for them to win this division got a lot harder with yesterday's loss. But I still think that this is a playoff team.
Jacksonville won that because you jumped ship.
What do you mean? Because I
You
jumped
jumped
ship. I didn't jump ship.
Listen. Let me tell you something. Houston's at a place where nobody thought they would be right.
We thought
That's good. That's
genuinely
awesome.
we
Yeah.
thought
He
Houston was
jumped
going
ship.
to be. We thought Houston was going to be down there with the Patriots and the Panthers.
Yes.
Like realistic.
And Tampa Bay.
Right.
We all thought Tampa Bay was.
Yeah, I thought Tampa Bay would be the
worst
worst
team
team
in
in
the league.
football, but
I mean,
I didn't jump ship. I still love Jacksonville. The Houston is a great story. Okay, it's just
Right.
like you know how much I hate the fucking Broncos. I can't stand Russell
was there
Wilson.
a bigger? Hold on now.
Okay, hold on, we're
Outside
gonna
the
get to it.
Detroit Lions, is there a bigger fucking clusterfuck team in the NFL than the fucking Houston Texans?
No.
They were
What? Maybe the
awful
Browns
at one point.
Maybe the Browns, but no, Houston was fucking awful. The story is awesome.
Yeah.
The story. This Houston team feels
Go
like
back.
Cincinnati did
Tug
a couple
and
of
Rub
years ago.
bailed. He didn't even want to be there anymore. Tug and
Yeah.
Rub bailed. He didn't want to fucking be at Houston.
Tug and Rub
I hope
sucks.
whatever Stroud is doing, I hope it persists. I don't know if it's going to. I always thought he would buck that Ohio State quarterback trend. I love watching him play. I love his receivers. I love Nico Collins. I love Tank Dell. And I hope it persists. They're going to go. The Texans will go as Stroud does. Next year,
I think
Stroud's going to
DeMeco
struggle.
Ryans deserves a lot of credit for this too.
Oh, 100%. He's
I do.
player's
I
coach.
mean, they're at a place that
Players coach.
nobody thought they would be.
Yeah, agreed. And they still have some. They traded out. They obviously traded one of their picks so they can get Will Anderson, but they still have some draft capital. They still have a first round pick.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot to like about Houston. Now they have to do work to. I mean, you could already make the case that the gap is bridged with Jacksonville. I just think you're seeing a really uncharacteristic Jacksonville this year, and I think that their best football's in front of them at the moment.
Yeah.
But you know, the Texans have some work to do, but of course they're a story for the future, and I'm excited to see it. It starts with Stroud, though.
You love talking about these young defensive guys. Do you think Will Anderson was a whiff yet?
What do you mean?
Was as the third overall pick? Do you think Will Anderson is this year's Trayvon Walker?
No.
No.
I know the question was to him, but
actually
no.
think he's better than Trayvon Walker.
No. I think Will Anderson will be fine. He's been a little banged up. Their defense plays to their scheme, and for that,
The
it's
guy
same
who
as
plays
Aiden Hutchinson.
opposite him gets no play.
Yeah.
Bernard.
Yeah.
He gets no fucking play, and the guy is a stud, dude.
It's similar to Aiden Hutchinson. They're game planning for Will Anderson, and it's opening up everyone else though because they have
Yeah.
the talent, whereas the Lions don't. Like Henry 2020, the other rookie from Alabama,
Correct.
has been thriving this year at
Yes, he
linebacker
has.
for them.
Yep.
And it basically, he's only playing because of injuries right now.
Yeah, he is exactly. He wasn't supposed
Him
to
and
be.
Christian Harris,
He's like a fourth
they're
or fifth round
playing.
pick.
Yeah.
Give it time on their defense. I think Will Anderson will be outstanding once they get. It's the same as Hutchinson. As soon as they get Will Anderson some help on the other side, he's going to be really good. And he already had a decent start to the year. It's just slowed down now because they can game plan for him. That's all it is.
100%.
And with Stroud, you got to fucking be on your toes.
Yeah.
He'll come,
Keeping everybody
he'll
up.
come back and bite you in the ass.
Next up, another big game with a lot of meaning. The Cleveland Browns headed to Mile High to play the Denver Broncos. Denver sitting at 6-5 and second in the AFC West. Cleveland 7-4 now and third in the AFC North. Denver gets a big important win in this game, 29-12. And Russell Wilson,
Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it?
Russell Wilson is officially back.
Thank you.
As much as I hate it, as much as I hate saying it, I don't like
do you
him.
hate
I don't like Denver. I don't like
You
Russ.
loved him last year.
But because I swore him off. I swore him off.
Listen,
I
we
picked
all
Denver.
thought they were going to challenge for a championship.
I
last
picked
year.
Denver to win the division
I
last
never
year over
jumped
Kansas
ship.
City.
You know who else is back, by the way?
Jump ship.
Sean Payton.
Listen, fuck you.
Yeah.
Sean Payton
Sean
is
Payton's
back.
back. There's something I want to talk about in regards to this game. Who is Cleveland's best player? Who's their MVP? One of the MVPs in the league this year.
Miles Garrett.
Myles Garrett.
The Broncos, and I saw that. I didn't notice it in real time watching the game. I only saw it on Red Zone. I didn't notice this in real time watching the game, but the Broncos brilliantly game plan for Myles Garrett yesterday. It was flawless. It was all Sean Payton. I'll tell you exactly what they did. I saw it on SportsCenter last night. They made Myles Garrett make business decisions. They go, you know what? We can't beat Myles Garrett. He's unbeatable. He's that much of a force. He's the best defensive player of the league this year. You can't double team him because you'll lose somewhere else on that defense. So you know what they did? They go, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run right at Myles Garrett, and we're going to make him make the business decisions. So they would run Russ RPO to the outside on Myles Garrett. They would run McLaughlin and Javonte Williams past Myles Garrett, and they had to make Myles Garrett run around all over the place. And guess what happened? Myles Garrett was injured yesterday because he had to be in on running plays while he was chasing from behind. He had to actually do work yesterday. They game planned perfectly, and there's a reason. If you score 29 on that Browns defense, that's good. That is very good.
Even the Niners couldn't do that.
Watch the fuck out for the Broncos.
I agree 100% right now. And you want to know, this is the thing, right? There's two people down here that tout this Browns defense up there as the best defense in the league. One of two. And I thought Russ played perfectly against them. I thought they ran the ball effectively enough against them to win this game. And the biggest story probably from this game is that Myles Garrett was seen leaving in a sling and, quote unquote, heard
They said
something.
he's okay.
They said there's no structural damage.
Yeah.
But he said he heard something pop in his arm. Stefanski says he is day-to-day as well.
If you don't have, even if there's no structural damage, it's great for long term. But if you don't have range of mobility, you can't play that position. If he can't make a full circle with his
arm. You have
arm,
to worry about Myles Garrett. He's fucking.
he's a beast.
Monster.
He's a beast.
He's a monster.
But
the thing is,
there's the blueprint, though.
I think Russell Wilson is really
you want to know
set
why?
the tone for he shut everybody up from what he was last year.
He's doing
You
just
cannot blame him for last year.
He's doing just enough to win the games, and he's not making mistakes.
He's efficient. He's extremely
efficient. On the other hand, Dorian Thompson-Robinson got absolutely slobber knocked on a play, left this game with a concussion.
He was good yesterday, though.
He looked good up
Very
until he got
serviceable.
slobber knocked.
Yep.
PJ Walker comes in, was average at best.
It fell apart.
Yeah.
It needs to go through. There's a reason DTR won the job. And again, I wanted to see, he had to go through Baltimore the first time, and then what was it, Pittsburgh last week?
Yep.
Those are two tough starts. I wanted to see him against a little bit more of a lackluster defense in Denver, and he showed that little sliver. So I would love to see it. Their season's them getting into the playoffs is going to come down to him and who they play.
You notice ever since that 70-point fucking ass fucking they took
Asshole.
early in the year, what was it, third game of the year, right?
Miami.
Yeah.
Yep.
Third game.
Against Miami. They haven't lost a fucking game since.
They lost one more after that.
I thought they haven't lost.
They lost to Chicago, I think.
Yes.
didn't they?
Yep.
They lost to Chicago the week after
Pull
that.
up the,
But here, you want to have this conversation right now?
They've won 6 in a row.
I think it's 5 in a row. I think it's 5 in a row.
they've won 5 in a row. Their last loss after Miami, they came out, beat Chicago, and then lost back-to-back nights or back-to-back weeks. The Jets in Kansas City.
Yeah,
And then they've won 5 in a row.
and they should have beat the Jets. They should have beat the Raiders at the beginning of the year.
It should have been Kansas City. If I'm not mistaken.
It was a
So they beat
19
them
they
in
lost that game.
They
at the
weren't
end.
in. It was a Thursday night game. They were in that game. They weren't blown out in that game. They were in that game, and there was just disarray. So let's have this conversation right now. Imagine. I mean, we could play this game all day, but imagine if they did win those games they should have won against the Raiders and against what was the other one? The Jets. You give them those two. What are they? 7-3 or 7-4, right?
If you give them 2 extra wins, they're 8-3.
They're 8-3. Who would that put them tied with? Kansas City Chiefs?
Yep.
They'd be winning that division right now.
They
Just
beat
saying.
Kansas City already.
And they already beat him. Just saying.
Right.
Just saying.
Do
I think they're going to win the division?
gotta play
No, but
coming
they're
down
for
the
sure
stretch?
getting into the playoffs.
So here we go. Denver's schedule going forward at Houston this week.
That's a fucking great game.
That's going to be a great.
That's a fun one.
That should be a good game.
Then at the Chargers,
Another good game.
at Detroit,
On paper right now, I'm taking the Broncos over the line. Right now, today, I would take the Broncos over the Lions.
At home against New England.
Okay.
Medicine.
At home against the Chargers.
Okay.
And they finish off the year at the Raiders.
Listen,
At the Raiders? Listen, they could easily fucking probably at least maybe only 2 losses in that stretch.
I think they lose this week against Houston, personally.
I think they could sweep the schedule.
I don't.
I think they could sweep the schedule. I think they could beat the Chargers twice.
I think they can beat the Chargers twice.
I'm taking them against the Raiders. I'm taking them against
In a
the Lions.
shootout, who you like better, Houston or them?
In a shootout, Houston.
Houston, because I give the edge to the Texans defense
Yeah, I think their defense is better.
in a shootout. I don't think Sean Payton is going to get out game planned by D'Amico Ryans.
No, I don't either.
That's my 2 cents on that.
If you're Cleveland, are we sounding the alarm?
If Myles Garrett's long term banged up and DTR
Thompson Robinson can't go
Yeah.
for a week or 2.
Yeah.
Well,
not only that, if
gonna
he
be in
doesn't
trouble.
take a step up, yeah, and then Amari Cooper too.
They're talking that Joe Flacco will start this weekend if DTR does not clear concussion protocol.
We're done here.
Joe Flacco?
See, Uncle Sam's so intrigued.
You don't think
right now.
Swinging Joe got a couple games left in him?
No.
Okay.
See, he does. He loves.
Hey.
Guess what? If Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback for the Browns, he's picking him in every game.
I'll give you this
If
though.
Joe Flacco was still in New York, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
Listen, I'll give you this. I'm excited to see it. I've always thought Joe Flacco was elite when that conversation happened for a decade. I think he didn't. That wasn't his fluke Super Bowl. I think he had a little bit to do with it, and I think he was a great quarterback for a short time there. I don't like Joe Flacco out of the league for as long as he's been running an already lackluster, banged up offense. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Next up, we're ready to move on, right?
Yes.
And yet another.
Divisional game.
The Rams headed to the desert in Arizona to play the Cardinals. Arizona takes yet another loss. Now sitting at 2-10 and 4th in the NFC West. The Rams advance to 5-6 in 3rd place. LA takes this one 37-14. Kyler Murray, 27 for 45, 256 yards and a touchdown. He also had 2 yards rushing for a touchdown on the ground. Marquise Brown, 6 for 88. Greg Dortch, 3 for 27 and a touchdown. Trey McBride, 7 for 60. Rondale Moore, 2 for 35. And I will say, I think Kyler Murray did a very nice job of spreading the ball around yesterday, but they were not able to run the football.
I will say
at all.
this. He was getting fucking plastered.
He took some
He
hits
took
in this game.
about 4 or 5 hard shots in this game.
The big story from this game, though, Kieran Williams in his first game off of IR, 16 for 143 on the ground, and then he picked up 6 for 61 and 2 touchdowns through the air. Royce Freeman, 13 for 77 and a touchdown. That's over 200 yards on the ground for the Rams.
That's Sean McVay offense right there. What you seen yesterday is Sean McVay at his best, running the football and then throwing it off of that.
If my math is correct, there were no touchdowns between Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, right?
So Cooper Kupp left the game,
Okay.
banged up. He
Again.
came into the game banged up, left the game banged up. He was 3 for 18. Puka Nacua, 4 for 27. The big story here is a name we haven't heard in weeks.
Tutu Atwell.
Tutu
baby.
Atwell, 3 for 76. And also Tyler Higbee, 5 for 29 and 2 touchdowns for him.
Yeah.
Big game for a lot of the names you didn't expect to hear on the Rams.
But that's Sean McVay offense right there. You don't know who's going to get the ball. You're expecting other guys to score, and all of a sudden they put 30 fucking points on you.
Stafford.
Your defense does just enough to keep you in check.
Stafford was 25 for 33, 230 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick.
There you go.
I'm curious to see what the Rams' chances are if we can go through and audit it, but we could see what they would look like in a favorable scenario in the playoff machine, because I think the Rams are not out of it at the moment.
Well,
not.
real quick,
They're
let's
not. They have 2 wins against Seattle.
hold on. They got Rams going forward. Cleveland at home against Cleveland.
Oof,
Depends on the quarterback.
that's a hell of a game there.
At Baltimore.
Loss.
At home against Washington.
They should be able to win that.
At home against Nola.
Should be able to win that.
At Tommy DeVito.
Should be able to win that.
At Frisco.
I mean, maybe two
So what?
losses
They should
there.
at least win 4 out of the last
And
6.
what's their record right now?
They are 5-6.
So
But
you give them 4 wins, 9 and 8 could totally get them
we've
in.
got to talk about this though, because the Rams have done this a couple times this year. Okay, like they beat Seattle week 1, and then we were like, oh wait, the Rams, right? And they come out and they
Lost to the
plastered-
Cardinals.
Well, no, they beat Arizona.
Oh, they did.
They beat Arizona, then lost 3 in a row, and the third one of that 3 in a row was a 20-3 loss at Green Bay. I don't want to. Like, they'll, out of those games, yeah, there's 2 on paper that they should lose, but they'll drop an extra one. They'll drop the one to Washington or drop the one next week to Cleveland. Like, I just don't, I'm not there yet.
There's also health issues.
Oh, I mean, they're probably the most banged up team in the league right now.
Who?
Cooper Kupp physically cannot stay on the field anymore. Every game he goes out hurt. Every game.
Do they need him?
But I think they got to. I think they got
might not.
more. I love that Stafford offense against the Cleveland defense with the banged up Myles Garrett. I like that. I like that scenario right there.
That could be fun. So hypothetically, you got the Browns. It's in LA.
This week? Yeah, it's at SoFi.
Hypothetically, that's your Super Bowl right there. Because if they win that one, your only clear-cut loss going forward
It's Frisco
is Baltimore.
and Baltimore.
Baltimore. Hypothetically, if San Francisco is not playing for anything at the end of the year, maybe the Rams can make a put. That's what it's going to come down to, is what San Francisco's playing for. And then conversely, if the Rams get the 7 seed and the Lions end up with the 2, you got Stafford coming here for a playoff game at Ford Field. That'd be
I don't
hella
think the
fun.
Lions get to 2.
Right now, I don't think they get the 2.
No. I don't care. As long as they win their division, I don't give a fuck where they place. To be honest with you.
Next.
Home playoff game. That's all I want.
Huh?
If you win your division, you get a home playoff game.
Yep.
I understand that.
That's it. That's all you need.
Next up, we have what I believe is our last
What?
waiting on you. Divisional game
Anyway.
of the weekend. The Kansas City Chiefs headed to the Las Vegas
Move your
Strip to
mic.
play. What?
He's just constantly.
I know.
last
He's just
few
never where
episodes.
we need him to
Yeah.
be. It's real simple. You're supposed to talk into the fucking microphone. You
Go ahead.
good right now?
Who are we talking about?
The Kansas City Chiefs headed to the Las Vegas Strip to play the Raiders. Kansas City comes out on top in this one, 31-17.
I will say this: the Raiders gave a fucking legitimate
Hey,
shot.
I'm gonna say this
Ain't
right
no
now.
Cardinals not as
Hey,
bad as I thought
hey,
he was.
Hey, I want you to eat your words right now.
Why?
The road to the Super Bowl still goes through Kansas City.
It does.
Bullshit.
Whatever. The AFC, it goes through Kansas.
Bullshit. No, it doesn't. Not
I
even
know.
close. I'll tell you what. This is the worst Kansas City Chiefs team we've seen since Mahomes has been there.
They
Period.
still keep winning.
Yes, but it's like it's not. There's no security there. I'm sorry, there's not. And you say they keep winning because they're playing dumpster teams, because they played a hot team who's halfway decent in Denver and lost. All right. Period.
They
had
played a
to play
team that's won
Philadelphia.
2 in a row.
They had to play Philadelphia and they lost. But the Raiders won 2 in a row, and I'm not sold on them. And they got a watered down Max Crosby.
What does that mean?
They got a watered down
banged up.
version of Max Crosby.
He's the first player this year to have the doubtful tag and to come in and play. He's just a little banged up right now.
All right.
I don't
Yeah.
buy the doubtful question.
I'm not about
That
it.
bullshit.
I'm not about it, because right now, if you look at Kansas City's schedule going forward, and I know we're gonna fucking argue about this, but they're playing Buffalo in 2 weeks, and Kansas City will lose that game. No questions asked.
If it's the Buffalo team from yesterday, yeah. But real quick though, I disagree that the Raiders were in it for a quarter at the beginning of the game, and then
They were up 14-0 at one point.
and it should have been 17-0. There was a
Yeah.
missed field goal, but that was all at the beginning of the game, and then hypothetically from there, it's 31-7 the score for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So, or excuse me, 31-3. Doesn't mean the Chiefs aren't bad. Been saying it all year. I don't know what we're going to get every week. I'll give him credit. Yesterday, he found the receivers a little bit better, but it's the Raiders. I want to see you do that against the Bills.
The drops are just ruining them.
I'll be honest. Kansas City's pass catching corpse is awful. You want to know what it's reminiscent of to me? Baltimore from last year. It was so putrid at one point when Bateman was hurt and Duvernay was hurt. And it was just a bunch of fucking guys that you didn't like and you didn't know. And there wasn't one that was consistent and there wasn't one that was reliable. It's like the Giants. But the only benefit you have is that you have Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball. That's how bad I truly believe it is. Sky Moore is a punt returner. I'm sorry. That's the long and the short of it, right? Outside of Travis Kelce, and Rashee Rice had a very nice game after he dropped
4 balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like, what the fuck, dude? And I get it. You know what? You're not expecting the angles that it comes in at because he throws them from weird angles. And you know what? But that shit's hitting you in the hands. You get paid to do that.
And I will say the Chiefs defense that we've actually been saying, this defense is the best part about their team right now. They allowed 110 yards to Josh Jacobs yesterday. He had a nice game. 20 for 110.
Most of that
he had
was
a
on 1 carry.
63-yard. Yeah.
They let Aiden O'Connell light him up.
Aiden O'Connell threw for 248 yards and a touchdown.
You know, I like him.
I've always liked him.
I'm not going to bullshit you. I think the best thing they did was dump Garoppolo for him.
Well, I mean, this Raiders team was on the trajectory to win 2 or 3 games this year, and we know now that they're going to be better than that. Like, are they going to be is this a playoff team? No. I don't think so. But at the end of the day, are they going to finish the year with 7 or 8 wins? I think that they can. I really do.
He had a good audition so far.
Yeah.
Do we talk about Marcus Peters?
No, we in the news we talked about Marcus Peters, but we haven't touched on it since then. Was that one was surprising to me.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting that from a veteran, and
I can't believe what they were saying about him. That to me is kind of a stretch. He never struck me as a guy that just fucking goes through the motions.
If there's one position in this league where reclamation projects they pan out, if there's one position, it's cornerback. So if he lands in the right situation, it could work out. Because we watched it happen with Revis 10 times over, and he would instantly rebound to be one of the best players in the league. Jalen Ramsey has taken his fair share of hits and then has rebounded nicely. So I would like to see.
Nicole Hardman had surgery today. He's now on IR.
Okay.
So
they officially have nobody anymore.
I mean, it's just I just don't know who's really left there. Pacheco had a nice 2-touchdown game against that Raiders front. I mean, are the Chiefs still going to be good, and are they probably going to go deep into the playoffs? Yes, but there's no longer that extreme dominance where you're like, oh God, you're playing.
See, this is where the Chiefs like to bait everybody in.
That's also true.
You know what I mean? They bait you in thinking, hey, they're fucking beatable. They're beatable. Then all of a sudden they'll put 45 on you, and you'll be standing there with your dick in your hand.
It just goes to show every week you never know what you're gonna get in this league. Every week. If we knew, we would be millionaires.
It's true.
Every week it's different.
Next up, we had one for the ages in an overtime game in Philadelphia where the Bills came to town and Philadelphia squeaks out an overtime win, 37-34, after divine intervention and a 60-yard field goal in a monsoon sent this game into overtime, where we know the Bills don't fare very well.
They even had the rule changed for that.
I would like to preface this.
They still can't fucking win.
I would like to preface this. In my opinion, I've seen 2 games in a row, and I have seen them do it against the Philadelphia defense. I think that the Bills' offense is 1,000% back. And I think that's a play of deep into the playoffs caliber offense now. The problem is, one, is the record already so bad that they won't be able to get in? And 2, is their defense so bad that they won't be able to outscore everyone? Those are the 2 big question marks. I thought Josh Allen looked very good yesterday under the circumstances against Philadelphia's defense in the rain, in the cold, in the wind. I thought he played a very, very nice game, both throwing the ball and running the ball. I can't stress enough how bad the fucking Bills defense looked yesterday. Can't stress it enough.
I don't like the fact that the Bills got away from their run game. At one point, they were gashing Philadelphia. They were gashing them for about 9 yards per carry, and then they just went away from it. And I think on those last couple of drives that they had, they would have continued to run the ball. They would have sealed that game.
Carl
That's just
says,
my opinion. I don't know.
Carl said you're blowed, Bills are shot.
Well,
Sorry?
I am not blowed, and I don't think the Bills are shot. Also, Bills had some kicking woes in this game. They had one blocked and one just blatantly missed. Listen, it hasn't. Right now, it looks like it's all starting to come together. The Bills remind me of last year's Cincinnati right now. And if they can string together enough wins, I think they sneak in a wild card
They
spot.
could do some damage.
How much
They
time
can
is
do
left,
some
though?
damage.
How much time is left? That's the thing. And what's their schedule?
6 weeks
Well,
left.
Because there's some teams that have put themselves in really. We've just went over it in the.
I think we got to give a little credit to Jalen Hurts, too, who was actually having a fucking horrible game
Jalen Hurts is
till
probably,
the end,
He's
and
the
then
MVP
he just
right
fucking
now.
lit him up.
Am I off on that? Jalen Hurts is the MVP of the league right now as it stands.
I would say so. No?
I would say I'm still shading towards McCaffrey, but sure. Either you can have a conversation.
I don't think you're going to have a running back win MVP, but
I mean, then I'd have to make a case for Tua.
Tua
Yeah.
over a team that's 9-1.
Tua dropped off and he's in the conversation. I think it's Jalen Hurts. Can I say something real quick on the Bills?
Sure.
Their offense is back. I'll give it to them, but they got to win the big games against the good teams, and this was one of them. And I'll say this much: same as the Chiefs game Monday night. I think I think the Bills choked this game, like I think the Chiefs choked this game. But I also don't think that's any indicative of the Eagles. You got to be on your best to beat the Eagles, and they didn't play great. And Jalen Hurts wasn't great, but they're still probably the best team in the league because they haven't put up that big. Other than against Miami, that big forward-facing, all-around performance. I haven't seen it yet, and they still eked one out against a good team yesterday. They did it on Monday as well. So I'm waiting for it from the Eagles. I just think the Bills choked this game away personally. Am I off there?
I said they were gashing them with the run and then stopped doing it.
I mean-
and I was like, you got to fucking make them stop you.
Josh
Make the
Allen.
other team stop.
Josh Allen in this game, 29 for 51, 339 yards passing, 2
Say
touchdowns
that
and
again. 29 of what?
29 for 51,
Okay.
339 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He also had 81 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground.
Do their schedule real quick. Bills schedule.
Buffalo's schedule going forward, they're on a bye this week, which doesn't help them right
No, hell no.
now. Then they come out of the bye at Kansas City,
Wow.
Tough.
at home against Dallas,
Oh,
Tough.
shit.
at the Chargers,
Okay.
Should be able to win.
at home against New England,
Okay.
Win.
at Miami.
Wow.
Listen, that's a hell of a schedule to have to go through. And
They've got to win 4 or 5.
yeah.
They got to win 4
And
or
on
5.
top of that, like we're basing it off of a big win against a bad team last week and a loss this week. I love what their offense has done, but you need to be all around to beat 3 out of those 5 teams that you just named. You need to be good in 2 phases to
100%.
beat the Dolphins. You need to be good in 2 phases. To beat the Chiefs, you got to be good in 2 phases.
Dallas.
And to beat Dallas, you got to be good in 2 phases. You know, you have to be on your best behavior if you want to beat those 3 teams.
It's just it was such a letdown.
You want to know
It
what
really
the typical Bills move is? They'll fucking lose that game to New England somehow, some way, in a fucking 6-3 fucking game, and they'll lose.
Didn't they
I would
already
agree
rip-
with you if they
didn't they
didn't already lose to New England. I would agree with you.
Yeah.
And I think New England's in significant more disarray now. I think it's going
Right.
to be more phoned in at that point, more rookies playing through that game.
Okay, as for Philadelphia, obviously 10-1, best record in football, are pretty secure in their spot in the NFC right now. And they have San Francisco at home next week. Then they're at Dallas, at Seattle.
Those are 3 big games right there.
Yeah.
I mean, they've handled all of these big games.
Yeah, but they could lose all 3 of these games coming up.
They could.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're just saying that for parity because there's not one part of you that actually believes they'll lose any of those games.
I think they're going to lose 2 out of the 3.
I genuinely, I said it a couple weeks ago.
They'll beat Seattle. They'll lose to the I think they're going to lose both to Dallas and to San Francisco.
I think they will lose to Dallas. I think they will lose to Dallas. That's about it, though.
That's Dallas' Super Bowl.
And if they show
they
up,
split with Dallas.
if they show up, if the Eagles actually show up, they're beating Dallas. If they actually play an all-around game, they're beating Dallas.
Honestly, the Bills were able to. The one thing that we said going into this game was you got to take A.J. Brown out of it, and they did a nice job. That one touchdown he had, that Zacchaeus touchdown was really the one that was
Zacharias. I didn't know they picked up Zacharias.
Zacchaeus.
It's always been Zacharias. Don't ask me why. But yeah, what I all the flack I've given Josh Allen so far this year, I'll give it to him. That was a fantastic outing.
He could be redeemed after the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm giving
You know what I liked about him yesterday? He didn't make no stupid fucking.
No, he didn't.
Yesterday.
He didn't. You want to know
He
something?
played pretty fucking flawless there.
In bad weather.
He did.
Yeah,
And I will say that last play, they should have won that game.
they should have won that game.
If he hadn't thrown the fucking post instead of the flag, they should have won.
Yep. Next up, Sunday.
No, I do have to say one thing.
Go ahead, get in.
In that game, there was a roughing the passer call on him that was god awful. He flopped.
Oh, it was awesome.
And I was like, what the fuck? Am I watching soccer? I was like, what the fuck is this?
I thought it was.
They
awesome.
have videos. There's videos online where it's just nothing but him flopping after every encounter he has after the play.
What do you mean?
He flops all the time. He's
Josh Allen?
Yeah, he's
No, he
LeBron.
doesn't, dude.
Yes, he does.
There's a whole flopping compilation of
Yeah.
Josh Allen. He's the biggest flopping quarterback in the league.
Is he really?
He's
He is,
LeBron.
yeah. I didn't know it until today either. I saw.
I didn't know it till I fucking seen it the other day. He flopped.
He
and that
flopped
was
pretty
huge.
bad.
And that was blatant. That was some fucking soccer shit.
Hey.
I'm surprised they didn't bring out the stretcher.
LeBron's got a whole lot of rings off flopping. God bless him.
Yeah.
Josh Allen.
He's the
hasn't-
flopper.
also
When is the
owned by
his
the
conference?
Chinese.
LeBron James is the flopper.
What?
He's the flopper.
LeBron James is owned by the Chinese, but we don't need to keep going.
Bruce is getting a little too political.
I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why he's still here.
I'm sorry?
I don't know why he's still here.
What do you mean he's
Sorry,
right?
it's true.
Oh, it's God.
He's fucking right.
Anyways,
He's got a Chinese stamp right on his fucking Kulu.
quick piece of news. Greg Olson has come out and stated that he's interested in the Panthers head coaching position.
Oh, I thought you meant he'd come out and he's coming out of the closet.
Here's
I
why
thought
I'm
he's
down.
married and had a couple kids.
Here's why I love
So
that
was Bruce
idea.
Jenner.
I think that's a great idea. Let me tell you why. Because the Lions are 0-3 when Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson call their games this year. So get him out of the booth. So when the Lions are on Fox's primetime game, they can actually
I
win.
like Greg Olson.
He's very
I
good.
think he needs to stay in the booth, stay where he's
He's
at.
very good.
I don't know why.
And
he
he's a
would
good
even
guy, too.
Think about doing that.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, because he's got close ties with Carolina. He did a
I
lot
know
of
he
damage
does.
there.
I know.
That's why.
But he's a good guy. I like him. He's a good guy, and I hate to see him get fired in fucking 10 games. So
One other piece of news. John Ross, former 40-yard dash record holder at the Combine and the 9th overall pick in the 2017 draft, he retired before this year, but he is supposedly in discussions with the Chiefs about coming out of retirement.
Whatever.
exactly.
You gotta
I
do.
mean-
You gotta do Chargers Raiders too. Or Chargers.
We're
Raiders.
here. We're here. Sunday Night Football from SoFi. The Baltimore Ravens headed to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. Baltimore continues to win football games. They are now 9-3 and first in the AFC North, and I believe first overall in the AFC. Sending the Chargers down to 4-7. Brendan Staley made it through the Monday. We'll see if he makes it through this week. Chargers now at the bottom of the AFC West at 4-7.
Not going anywhere.
Listen, Baltimore, I'm going to preface with saying I fell asleep. I did not see the end of this game. I expected this game to be much like the Chargers-Lions game was a couple weeks ago. 42-37 battle all the way to the end. It was not that. It was pretty fucking boring, in all honesty.
Khalil Mack had a nice game.
Khalil Mack did have a nice little game. Shit, Keenan Allen had a nice little game. Austin Eckler had an atrocious game.
Carl is checking in.
They couldn't run the ball.
Herbert, 29 for 44, 217 yards, a touchdown and a pick. He also had 47 yards on the ground and a fumble. Austin Eckler, 10 for 32 and a fumble. Keenan Allen had the best game of everybody in a Chargers uniform, 14 for 106, but he also fumbled.
We need to talk about this fumbling thing and this situation that's going on in the NFL. Is some of these plays are blatantly not fumbles, but they're allowing the play to continue, and everybody else on the field is fucking stopping, and I think it's starting to become an issue. There's two things that are really bothering me. One is the penalties coming in well after the play is over. That shit needs to stop. If there's a fucking penalty during the play, the flag needs to come out. This fucking shit with the play is over and guys are like fucking celebrating and the flag comes in. And I was like, what the fuck am I watching here? And it's every week. Have you guys noticed this? Have you guys been noticing this?
Yes.
And it's been going on for about the last month.
In regards to it's a great point on the fumble thing. So I'll tell you what's happening is no one knows what anything is anymore.
Yeah.
And the refs, like, it'll happen on a touchdown play. They'll blow it dead too early sometimes, or they'll blow it dead too late, and guys won't know what to do, and then guys will give up. Because there's so much inconsistencies. There's so many inconsistencies with the officiating.
Yes.
That's what you're seeing, is it's just the inconsistency
It's
with
off.
officiating. It's off. My counter to that is what the players need to do is you're taught in high school to play through every play.
Correct.
You cannot give up on any plays. If it's a fumble, go tackle the guy, whatever, and you got to hope and pray that the video replay redeems you. But I'm with you. There's definitely been some fuckery in recent weeks.
Fuckery. Exactly. That's what it is.
Fuckery.
Real quick, the story in this game, I think, was the Ravens' defense. I think they shut down a pretty potent Chargers
Yeah, they couldn't run the
offense.
ball.
A Chargers
Killed.
offense that's very good at home.
Yeah.
They took Eckler out. They did a pretty decent job, about as good as you could do on Keenan Allen. I know he still kind of lit it up a little bit. But I think the story
He's a seasoned vet.
he's a seasoned
Hey,
vet.
You're not going to shut down a guy
you
like that.
you don't shut a guy like that down. You slow him down. It's similar to what you have to do to the Eagles with AJ Brown. The Ravens didn't have a great game offensively. It was what it was, but they still shut down Chargers defense on the road.
Outside Jalen Hurts right now, Lamar Jackson, him and Lamar Jackson, that's your MVP.
You hear that, Carl G? You hear that, Carl G? I want to see Lamar's big in big games. In good games, Lamar has been good. I haven't seen enough out of him to be MVP, but he has a chance to win it. He has a chance to play big in these big games, and he has a chance to grab that award.
Look at his numbers; they're fucking outstanding.
I'm with you. I'm excited. I called it before the year. I said it in May. I think Lamar was my dark horse for MVP. I said that, so I'm excited to see how it
I
unfolds.
like the point that they're not running him as much as he did last year.
Yeah, they do
what I
great.
like.
They do great.
I'll say this. There's not a doubt in my mind that Baltimore's going to win this division, but they do have some tough fucking games coming up.
Yeah, they got a gauntlet.
Do it.
They play the Rams they're on a bye this week. Come out, play the Rams. And it just gets harder from there. At Jacksonville, at San Francisco, at home against Miami. That will be a fantastic game. And then they finish the year at home against Pittsburgh.
I'm chalk on
that's
all
tough.
those. I would take the Ravens on paper right now today in all of those games. But they can't come
I
out.
think maybe
I agree.
the only game that I would question would be the San Francisco game.
No, and
It depends which San Francisco
Are
team
they
you're getting.
playing at San Francisco?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It depends which San
on
Francisco team
Christmas
you're getting.
Day, Monday Night Football.
Oh wow.
So
That's
if
a Brock Purdy test.
you
right
can't
there.
be what you were yesterday if you want to beat those teams offensively.
Right.
You need to, and I know it just really it was just in the points. They ran the ball well. Flowers was great yesterday. Preliminary thoughts on Isaiah Likely, good.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
And it's just working the rest of those guys in, Odell, and you keep running the ball well. Like eventually the points are gonna come eventually. So I just need to see them score more points, because if they're scoring more points,
Turnovers too. They
coupled
gotta
with
watch
that
their
defense,
turnover thing. They get untimely fumbles and this bullshit.
They didn't have a turnover yesterday.
No, but they get these untimely three. They gave the ball up on downs a couple of times. That's unlike them.
well, they go for it a little more than other teams do.
And Justin
Again,
Tucker
it's another
misses
player's coach. John
another
Harbaugh's the
fucking
guy
field
wanna play
goal.
for.
Hello, Guy's missed
Tucker
more field
missed the
goals
field
this year
goal.
than he has in his whole fucking career.
Is he on your team?
Yes.
That's why.
Yeah, drop him, and then he'll fucking start playing better.
Yeah. Let me
Just like
drop
Zay
him, and then he'll have fucking 25 points next week.
Zay Flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, though, you can't doubt what Baltimore is doing, and right now, I don't think Flowers is the rookie of the year, but
They're AFC
thank God.
Eagles. They're AFC Eagles.
They're the AFC
Other than the Lions, I haven't when they played the Lions. I'm still waiting on that complete all-around game from Baltimore, and they're shit pumping teams, and they're at the top of the conference still. So I'm waiting for it. I think it's gonna come, and I mean they have a chance to prove it. They have their shit or get off the pot. On paper, I think they're winning all those games, and I said it over the summer. I genuinely think we're heading towards Eagles-Ravens collision course. But it's crazy because we haven't seen either of those teams play a perfect game yet. They each have one. They have the one against the Lions for the Ravens, and then the Eagles win against the Dolphins. I think those are their two best games. And I'm excited to see what both of those teams do down the stretch because that's a fun-ass Super Bowl right there.
Yeah.
can I be honest?
Please.
I don't think either of those two teams make the Super Bowl. I know it logically makes the most sense, but I'm not. Last year we were sold on Philadelphia to go to the Super Bowl. Sold. Like there's no question.
Well, I mean, listen.
Even though they're
No-
9-1,
team-
I'm not
No
sold.
team that has gone to a Super Bowl has come back in the next year and went fucking 10-1. No team in
That's
NFL
great.
history.
They're just missing out on the one thing.
So who are you taking?
winning the Super Bowl.
So who are your two teams then? If you today on paper, who are your two teams?
Right now, today, I still think that San Francisco is going to make it out of the NFC. As far as the AFC goes, the Baltimore thing makes the most sense. I just feel like you're going to have one of those teams that you don't.
Baltimore's in the Super Bowl. Absolutely.
I see what you're saying on San Francisco, but they need to get their shit together.
I'm still going to go. I think it's Miami Frisco still. I really do. I think it's Miami Frisco. I think Miami will, because it's the same thing. We haven't seen Miami 1,000% good, except that Denver game earlier in the year when they dropped fucking 70. But something about Philadelphia.
You know
they're
what?
going to lose a big
You know
game.
what? They haven't done that since. They haven't even come near that.
Yes, but their
performance
defense has played light years better than it did at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, but
and realistically,
they got a lot of
that's what
fucking
matters.
injuries they're dealing with right now, and that's going to hurt them going down the stretch. The Phillips thing is huge for them.
The Phillips thing
He's
is a
their best
massive
pass
loss.
rusher.
It's a massive loss. Now Bruce is going to tell us how the colors of the fucking Super Bowl logo mean that it's going to be Ravens 49ers.
No. Oh, yeah. It's looking pretty close.
I guess the last 2 years, the colors of the
It
Super
could
Bowl
be
logo
Minnesota and Kansas City.
could be Minnesota. Yeah, maybe it's Minnesota.
I think it's Baltimore.
Guess
Minnesota and Houston.
Minnesota and Houston. There you go.
They're gonna wear those all reds with the red helmet.
Okay. Previewing Monday Night Football. And then let's do this very quickly and then get into a few minutes of Michigan-Ohio State talk. The Chicago Bears are heading to Minnesota tonight. We've already picked this game. Minnesota is a field goal favorite in this one. The over-under is down to 43.5 points. I took Chicago. The rest of you took Minnesota. Are we still sticking with that?
I'm gonna stick with it, but I want and think Chicago's gonna have a good shot to win this game.
You?
No Justin Jefferson.
No Justin Jefferson still.
Where's the game?
In Minnesota.
That's a tough place to play for Fields. That being said, I feel really good about what I saw from
I
Chicago
think
against
Justin
the
Fields
Lions.
is going to light this fucking
I
thing
do
on
too.
fire tonight.
So here's what Chicago needs to happen. Chicago needs this to be a bloodbath. Chicago needs the shootout, because I'm probably taking, based on what I saw from Chicago against the Lions 2 weeks ago, I'm probably taking Fields in a runoff over a Minnesota team that doesn't have Justin Jefferson. I don't think that Caillou's going to be able to pull it together in a team where against a team where he's got to pull points up on the board. You know,
Caillou. I don't either. Okay, I'm sorry. At the end of this Josh Dobbs thing has to end. We're 11 fucking games into this now.
And it doesn't mean I don't think he's good. I just don't think he's going to win a shootout.
I just don't think he's. This can't keep happening.
Yeah.
It can't. And the other thing is, what's the best part of Minnesota's defense? The secondary. I think Justin Fields is going to torch them tonight. I really do. I think he's going to have 1,000,000 yards rushing.
It could go two ways. This could go two ways for them.
Daniil Hunter eats.
They have a very experienced secondary with Patrick Peterson and Hunter. What the fuck is his name?
Harrison Smith.
Harrison Smith.
You just traded for Harrison Smith. You
I
can't
know.
forget his name.
I think that Minnesota's going to try to control the line of scrimmage. on both
Patrick
sides of the
Peterson
ball.
plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers now.
Oh, does he? I thought he was with Minnesota still. Who is that play? Who is that they got then?
Bynum.
I can't remember. Yeah, I like him. He's good. I'm gonna take Minnesota in this. I think they're gonna win. What's the spread?
3.
3. I'm gonna take Minnesota to win.
I'm still sticking. Chicago.
Here's the thing. Every time you think fucking our boy Justin Fields is going to do good, he'll just give you a little jig dance, and the next thing you know, they fucking lose.
That's
They
true.
fucking he gives a little fucking dance, and they got their assholes punched.
That's actually true. He plays well when you least expect it, and I think people might be expecting him. All right, here he goes.
Everybody's going to expect for him to tear them up, and that's when you usually get your asshole punched.
I'm still expecting Minnesota to win tonight. The one thing I will say on Fields is the same thing I've been saying on Fields and Jordan Love for the last month is they are auditioning for their jobs right now.
Yeah.
And that should incentivize them and motivate them to play well.
And so is P.J. Walker, or what's his name?
Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs. He's interviewing.
Josh Dobbs.
They're
is
gonna-
not
they're gonna
Right
interviewing
now,
draft
he's
the quarterback
interviewing for
job.
Kirk Cousins.
They're gonna.
job.
Are you out of your fucking?
They're gonna bring Kirk Cousins back.
Listen
They've been
to me.
open about it.
Shout out to Dan opening the episode with saying that he needs to be put in the fucking home. In what world do you think Josh Dobbs is actually going to go into next year as a starting quarterback?
I think Josh
Guess what?
Dobbs should get a shot.
It is more likely that Tommy DeVito is QB1 of the Giants next year than Josh Dobbs is QB1 of the fucking Vikings.
You never know.
Period. Zolo, go
Yeah.
ahead. Take it away. This is the moment everyone has been waiting for.
I'll be quick. That was the biggest win between either two teams in the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry ever. That was the biggest win. It's not even up for debate. The closest games that rivaled that are 1969, which they tied, which kicked off the 10-year war. Then from there, the big one in 2006, the game of the century. Well, they've played 3 times in a row now, and Michigan has beaten 11-0 Ohio State teams 3 times in a row. That's 3 game in the centuries in a row. The last 2 years were game of the century.
I beg to differ. I think
Speak.
that 97 win at Ohio State was
No, there was
Incredible.
no
that was
bigger.
incredible.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Woodson intercepting that ball, taking
Yeah.
it.
It had the scenes.
Come on.
It had the scenes, and Michigan went on to win a national championship. But in terms of regular season wins,
Co-national championship.
this one, let me tell you why. This one counted for 3. Because if you lost this, you were just going to hear, oh, you didn't have your sign stealing buddy,
I know,
Connor
nobody
Stallions.
cares about that
No,
shit,
people do. Everyone
stupid.
does.
It's
Everyone
stupid.
All
does.
of guess what? You say
Everyone
that,
hates Michigan and
but
thinks they are
everybody says
cheaters.
it. It's
Everyone hates
stupid.
Michigan. It is stupid, and I agree with you. It's
stupid.
100% stupid. But the whole point of this was their two fan bases were looking for validation. Ohio State's was trying to validate that you only won because you stole our signs. And
They
Michigan,
changed all their signs before the fucking game last
Exactly.
year,
You're-
and they got their asses
You're
handed
preaching to
to
the
them.
choir.
What are we talking
You're
about?
preaching to the choir, but no one else thinks that. People think that Michigan is a group of cheaters, okay? They didn't have Connor Stallions. They didn't have Jim Harbaugh. And guess what?
Fucking scallion.
And guess what? You still lost.
Connor Green.
You still lost. What are you going to do now? Who are you going What excuse do you have now, Ryan Day? You're 0-3 now in the last 3, and they've all been big.
Time to
Every
keep
single
dyeing
one of
that
them.
beard. He looks
And
stupid.
you're fucking soft, brother. You are soft.
Keep crying.
You are soft. You could, even if your brothers didn't lead that investigation, even if it wasn't their PI firm, you cried. You still said you had no respect for Jim Harbaugh. Guess what? With 2 minutes left at the 50-yard line, you still decided to kick a 50-yard field goal because you were too scared to run the ball on Michigan. You're soft. You change the way you call plays when you're playing Michigan. You are soft. Okay? That was the biggest regular season
I
win
don't
for
think
Michigan.
it was. I thought that game last year against Stroud was better.
Well, yeah, that was a good win.
That to me was probably the best game I had ever seen.
The stakes were never higher than this game. You can't. It's not even up for debate.
Why? You don't think that's true of last year?
No, this was a big.
This was the way bigger game.
Because Harbaugh wasn't there. There's been so much noise.
So what?
As far as the noise factor and big wins, as far as Ryan Day goes, they didn't have Jim Harbaugh, and you've lost 2 in a row.
I thought they did a better job. They did a better job last year against arguably probably the best quarterback to come out of there ever.
The Michigan team was better, significantly better.
Absolutely, they were.
They're not as good this year.
I agree.
But on the opposite side, the whole point is Ohio State has always had the talent. We're going on 15 years of them always being more talented, always having 5 stars. They had a Heisman player on the field the other day. Guess what? I saw a picture after the game yesterday, or 2 days ago, that was outstanding. It was Chris Olave, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Marvin Harrison, Fleming, Ibuka, all 5 of those guys, all 5-star recruits. They were 0-3 against Michigan. None of them beat Michigan. None of them. They had C.J. Stroud.
Michigan's won the last 3 years.
They had C.J. Stroud.
That's awesome. But they lost fucking 10 years
but
prior to
that.
matter
That's
right
not
now.
the point.
It's what it is.
The stakes were higher for this one than any game between those two teams in history, especially since 1969. The stakes were never higher because you had one fan base trying to devalue the other team's wins, and the other fan base saying, well, if we don't win this game, they're going to think we're actual cheaters. Michigan didn't need to steal your signs to beat you the last 3 years. And not to mention, you were doing the same shit. You were getting the same signs that Michigan had from other coaches, and you still lost. You still lost. That's that. Put it to bed. Ryan Day, you're a great coach. You're fucking soft. You're not beating Michigan anytime soon if you're going to call plays like that with your more talented squad. You had Marvin Harrison, the best receiver college football has seen in 20 fucking years, and you still lost.
I don't know about that.
Who is? Name it off.
I think he's good. I don't think he's that good.
Who's better than him in the last 20 years of college football?
Better in college football than him?
Yeah.
In 20 years?
Marvin Harrison is slated to go number 1 or number 2 overall. No receiver has ever gone higher than 2. 2 is the highest point, and he's going to go on one of those picks.
Who went at 2?
Calvin Johnson did. A couple guys have.
I just gave you one better.
Calvin Johnson was not a Heisman candidate and did not have the career that Marvin Harrison had.
Because Calvin Johnson also fucking went to Georgia Tech.
That's the whole
he
point.
He fucking throw the ball
That's
there.
the whole point. Is Marvin Harrison had C.J. Stroud, and he still couldn't beat Michigan. That's the whole point. They had all those guys.
That's more impressive, what you just said. They had C.J. Stroud, and C.J. Stroud could not beat Michigan. That's more impressive.
That's what I'm trying to say. The people in that fan base think that C.J. Stroud
was cute. It was cute.
You're missing the point, brother.
What do you mean I'm missing the point?
The whole point is they're saying we had C.J. Stroud, the best quarterback that's ever gone to Ohio State, and you're telling me he played Michigan twice and couldn't beat him? Something must be up. They had our signs. They couldn't stop us. That's the whole point. Well, guess what? Michigan didn't have your signs this year, and they still beat your ass.
Why are you laying on this sign thing? It's stupid.
That's the narrative. You don't understand
stupid.
that is the narrative. I listened at 2:00 today on Valeni, and they're still thinking, you should be stopped. But guess what? Your wins are still going to be vacated. Harbaugh's still going to be gone. No, they're not.
Going to be vacated.
The NCAA is not vacating those wins. It's not going to happen because they don't value the fucking sign stealing like you do. There's no excuses for anybody.
Sign stealing thing is stupid anyway.
Yes, but to the fans. To the Ohio State fan base, that's the sword that they're dying on. That's what he's trying to say. And the national media, who is against Michigan, is dying on that sword as well. That's what's trying to be said.
That's because it's true.
What's true?
The sign stealing thing is true. They were doing that.
Yes, but is it?
So it doesn't matter.
But even you agree that doesn't influence the game.
I don't think it influences games at all.
They were literally going to repeal that rule in 2021. There is a narrative that it gives a crazy competitive advantage. No, it does not.
Dude. Start wearing fucking headsets, you won't have this problem.
And they're going to for both seasons.
It's just stupid. They start doing it, period. In college football, if you can't afford headsets,
you wear headsets in high school.
Quarterback and your fucking coach, then you don't need to be playing college football.
In high school football, the kids are wearing headsets.
I know that.
It's just in college. There was no
Stupid.
advantage from the sign stealing. It's not even fucking debatable. Michigan was good. Look at the talent that they put in the pros over the last 3 years. They developed talent. They game planned. They beat you. Okay? And if you game plan better like TCU did and like Georgia did with their talent 2 years ago,
Well,
you're
TCU
gonna
is the
beat
only
them.
game that they didn't steal the signs from.
It's that simple. I don't know what happens going forward. I don't think this Michigan team is as good as the one a year ago. I don't.
No.
I think their window closed last year. But guess what? So is every other team is down. Georgia's down. Alabama's down. Okay? Washington might be decent. They haven't seen a defense.
I like
Michigan's.
Michael Penix.
All right, hold on. Now, can I raise a question here? I think, right, we can all agree Georgia's probably still going to stay as the number 1 team in the country.
It depends what happens Sunday or Saturday.
Well, I'm talking going into this week.
Honestly, there's a scenario where Michigan's 2 wins over Penn State
Are
on
bigger
the road
than Georgia's.
and over Ohio State are there. If it goes by strength of wins, then Michigan will probably be number 1.
Okay.
But if Georgia beats Alabama,
Georgia will take number 1.
yes.
All right, so if you have Georgia 1 and Michigan 2, who are the last 2? Is it Washington and Florida State as long as they both win?
The precedent is if you are an undefeated conference champion, you've never not gotten in. So Florida State is down bad. They lost their quarterback
Does that push them to
Yeah,
5?
they lost
they
him a
had-
while ago, dude.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
This was their first game without him. So they lost their quarterback, and they have to play a tough Louisville team.
Okay.
I don't think it pushes them to 5 because there's a precedent also that Ohio State lost 3 quarterbacks, and then they put Ohio State in, and Ohio State ended up winning the national championship in 2014 when they lost JT Barrett.
Ezekiel Elliott.
So there's a precedent there. But if you're an undefeated conference champion, you're getting in. From there, it gets tricky.
Well, yeah, because hypothetically, if Florida State does lose and Oregon loses, then who's in? Texas or Bama?
I think
Oregon has to play Washington.
Washington.
Right?
I think Oregon-Washington winner gets in no matter what because if Oregon redeems their loss on the road, Bo Nix is playing better than any quarterback in the country right now.
They lost to Washington earlier.
They lost to
I watched
Washington
that game.
in Seattle. They
That
lost
game was fucking incredible.
one of the best games of the year.
Yeah.
Came down to the missed field goal. I think Pac-12 winners probably getting in. It gets really fucking tricky if Alabama beats Georgia and if Texas wins out because Texas beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa and Texas has
Yeah,
a
but they
chance
all
to
got
win the Big
losses.
12. Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. It gets
This is the thing
like,
that'll
are they
throw
going to leave Georgia out
everything
with one
fucked.
loss? Do they have the balls to
No,
leave
you
one
can't.
loss Georgia out?
You have-
They get left out
yeah, I
because a
think
lot
that
of what
would
they
be-
did came down
A
to
lot
the
of teams will say a one-loss Alabama or one-loss Georgia team is better than fucking Florida State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're right. They're not.
But a lot of what
Wrong.
we've done with this committee over the last 10 years is we've based on precedents. And the precedent is if you win a Power 5 conference
Thank
and
God
you go
this is the
undefeated.
last year for this. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Because next year it'll be fucking 12 teams, and you'll get an actual true national champion out of that.
It'll be more fun next year for sure.
Well, it'll be more
100%.
competitive too.
Should be, yeah. A dark horse can come in.
There's nothing wrong.
I mean-
Listen, that's going to help the sport, opening up that playoff.
Well, yeah, because let's say hypothetically, if there's a 12 team right now,
yeah.
and I'm looking at a NCAA projection right now. Week 1, you'd have Alabama 7 and Ohio State 8 playing each other.
Correct.
Run through the whole
Tell
thing.
me that's not bad.
All right, right now the projections are Georgia 1. This is without next week. Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Washington 3, Florida State 4, Oregon 5, Texas 6, Bama 7, Ohio State 8, Mizzou 9, Penn State 10, Ole Miss 11, Oklahoma 12, and Louisville is 13.
There's a hell of a lot of cool, fun, good schools on there.
Well, yeah, I
That's
mean,
a lot of good games.
your week one matchups would be Georgia, Oklahoma, Michigan, Ole Miss, Penn State, Washington, Missouri, Florida State.
Wait, hold on. Under the new format, 1 through 4 get a bye.
Oh,
So it would be 5-12, which would be probably
Oregon, Oklahoma.
Oregon, Oklahoma.
and then
It was 6.
Texas, Ole Miss,
which would be a hell of a lot of fun. Ohio
Penn
State, Alabama.
Ohio State, no. It'd be Penn State, Alabama, Ohio State, Mizzou.
That would be a nice little.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I think that's stupid the way they do that.
What, the 4 teams getting a bye?
Yeah, I think 12 should play 1 and on down.
Well, you can't do that because it's not a bracket at that point. So it's got to be those 4 teams get a bye and then it reseeds. And plus, it adds value to those 4 teams that they get the bye because they probably won their conference and they probably won out.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, it should be It should be insane next year.
Do you think right now Michigan should be above Georgia?
Based on the system,
Oh,
yeah.
Ohio State was ranked 2.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Ohio State was ranked 1 in the first playoff based on they had the best wins. There's no better win in college football this
No,
year.
I mean, outside Georgia, Georgia's been number 1 for how long now?
No. Ohio State in the first college football rankings that came out on Halloween in the playoff rankings, Ohio State was number 1 for the first
Really?
2 weeks. Yeah, because they had the best wins. They had
Which poll?
in the college football playoff committee poll, which is the
Okay.
only poll that matters. So they had the best wins. They had the win against Penn State and they had the win at Notre Dame. That's why.
Okay.
There's no Georgia win that outranks Michigan's win at Penn State or Michigan's win against Ohio State. There's no bigger win in college football currently as it stands than what Michigan did to number 2 Ohio State this weekend. It was the only two undefeated teams that late in the season, so it's not possible. That being said, I think if Georgia beats Alabama, their combined wins are better than Michigan's wins, and they should be number 1. And I think that's what
That kinda
ultimately
makes
ends up
sense.
happening. Yeah.
Anything else
To me,
add?
that makes sense. You know,
I think Michigan should be 1 as well.
well, that'll be after this week.
Yeah, I mean,
If you want to
100%,
rank them 1 for a week, I guess go ahead. You know, but I think it's stupid at this point. I mean, it's real simple. Whoever wins their fucking divisions, that's when you go by quality wins. Michigan beats, who they playing? Iowa?
Iowa, yeah.
Okay, they're going to play Iowa. What are they, a fucking 20-point fucking favorite this week?
23.5.
Okay, I thought that. Yeah. So you're going to tell me that Michigan beating an Iowa team for the Big Ten championship is better than Georgia beating fucking Alabama or Alabama beating Georgia? No.
No. It depends how the committee values Alabama. Me personally, I think beating one-loss Alabama in in the SEC
Yeah,
championship
a one-loss Alabama team could
it's
roll.
it's not better than the
Fucking
Ohio
Should
State
be a
win.
2-loss.
Ten.
It's not better than the Ohio State win, but going
No.
undefeated in the SEC and beating Tennessee and Kentucky, those are big wins, and those are more compiled than Michigan's big wins. So yeah, I could see it shaking out that
Old
way.
Miss.
I think there's a scenario where Alabama wins.
Yeah.
And I think Alabama should get in if they win, and I think Georgia should still get in if they win, and then Michigan should
Well, if you
hypothetically.
remember the year that Michigan won, they beat Ohio State at Ohio State and absolutely fucking crucified them
last
in that
year.
game,
Last year,
and then turn around and Ohio State gets in.
yeah, but Ohio State made a good case.
That's because
last year.
USC lost.
Yes,
And who else lost? It was USC and somebody else lost.
TCU lost.
That's
but
why
still
they
got
were
in.
allowed into the
TCU lost,
playoffs.
still got in. There's a lot
CJ
of chaos.
Stroud was a fucking extra point away from beating Georgia.
The gist is, I know we're over 2 hours. I know we're over 2 hours, but the gist is, there's been
Take
this.
your time.
This was basically
rush.
over the last 2 weeks between Michigan, Ohio State. Next week you have Oregon and Washington. You have Florida
a
State
huge
and Louisville, which is another big game. Texas and Oklahoma State should be fun, and then Alabama and Georgia. You basically got an 8-team playoff this year,
Right.
or a 10-team playoff over a 2 week
Just
span. You
watching
basically
the
got that.
championship game.
Yeah, the championship games, other than the Michigan Iowa game, the championship games are all good. So you got some good shit.
I right now I like Michael Penix to win the Heisman.
Bo Nix passed him.
I think Michael
and
Penix.
honestly-
If Michael Penix beats them again, he obviously
He's got to have a
gonna-
big game because
He'll obviously win the.
I know how you are about Michael Penix. He's not been good for the last month. He's not the reason they're winning games for the last month. I still love him. I think Bo
Makes
Nix
all
is the
throws.
biggest.
right now the betting favorite is still Jaden Daniels.
Who is?
Jaden Daniels is going to win because no quarterback in history that's accounted for 50 touchdowns has ever lost the Heisman. Anytime a quarterback has thrown for 50 touchdowns or accounted for 50 touchdowns, they've won the Heisman. And the list is crazy. Baker Mayfield's on that list. Joe Burrow's on that list.
Yeah.
Cam Newton's on that list. So it'll probably be Jaden Daniels. I think Bo Nix is after him.
Bo Nix is next. Michael Penix, Marvin Harrison, and
Where's
Carson Beck.
Milrow isn't on that list.
Milrow is not on this list.
I think if Milrow has a good performance against Georgia, watch out. After that debacle at the end of Auburn, watch out. I think Milrow's got a shot at it.
Hold on. I'm looking on here. He's on this list. He is he's fifth here above Carson Beck.
Who is?
Milrose.
Where's Michael Penix at on that list?
Third. He's third on both lists.
How many touchdowns he got?
Who?
Penix.
Okay.
Michael Penix's numbers have dropped against the good teams is the problem. He's still fucking awesome, but
Michael Penix right now currently has 32 touchdowns.
it's gonna be Jaden Daniels. It's odds. on.
Okay.
But I think Bo Nix has a shot at it. I think Milrow has a shot at it. Should be a fun couple games there. Saturday we got Saturday and Friday. I think the Pac-12 is on Friday, so
Yeah,
Bo Nix get drafted.
Bo Nix is gonna get drafted.
I
Been in
think
college for 6 years.
should we do a college championship weekend preview on Wednesday?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd love that. We just break down all the championship games.
You better do your
I'd have a
studying.
blast.
Maybe you guys do it. Okay.
Anyways,
All right.
anything to add?
No, it's been 2 hours.
Today.
Go
I
Blue.
will say, today was a 2-hour long show, and we had our best viewership to date today. Everybody's
to the
been with us the whole time, so shout out to everybody who's been watching. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thanks for
Thank
being in
you.
the chat. And with that being said, thank you for listening to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. Remember to follow our socials, Instagram and Twitter at Tip Balls, TikTok at Tip Balls Podcast. If you're listening to us with Spotify or Apple Music, remember to check out our YouTube, ring the bell so you get notified when we go live, and subscribe. Join us in the chat Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays between 4:30 and 5. Thank you so much for listening. You will hear from us on Wednesday, and I think Uncle Sam has something to say.
No.
Oh, you're gripping the microphone like a cack over there. I thought you were about to say something. Thanks again. Have a great night.